Friends of chess, real chess. We try to play real chess or support the idea of playing real chess here anyway. And although chess does lead to perpetual brokenness, we continue to support open source chess here on lichess.org, not on other commercial sites. I firmly believe in this. Don't over promote. I do ask you guys, support the stream, subscribe, but I'm encouraging everyone to play on lichess.org. It's open source, it's free, it's the way that chess should be, fundamentally online, available to everyone, and contributed to by everyone. What's up, Astrobate? Where is everybody? They've forgotten about me. I think Thursdays. I need more. Maybe I'm late. Actually, wow, we're 15 minutes late. How did we get 15 minutes late here? Okay, I'm more than just a pretty face. We are analyzing with the Kraken. Analysis stream. Gather round, Mr. Coffee, Acerbate. I think I hurt my arm by sitting in this chair. I need the chair for Christmas. I need something. This chair is just not comfortable. Tired of hearing me whine? Donate and support a new chair. The chair will support me. If you want to support me, you help get me a new chair. Get it? Support. Chair. Alright. Let's see the studies. Studies. Saji. Chess Riddler. Mule Skinner. Astrobate. Saji Evergreen Game. Mr. Slow. I feel we're missing something. Mr. Coffee, how are you, sir? Sire? I'm feeling good. Suddenly I just got notification pop-ups disabled by browser setting that wasn't there a minute ago. Chess Riddler versus Castling Short was our first submission for the week. This is my analysis stream. I need to write like a more exciting stream title. In-depth analysis with viewers. God, I'm good at what I do, right? Just not promoting myself enough. Alright, Chess Riddler, Castling Short, Mule Skinner, game over the board. Astrobate versus Astrobate versus someone's phone number. I put this in parentheses, Evergreen Game. It was a funny game I played yesterday, and it was an attempt at being brilliant. But I thought it was worth showing. And Mr. Slow versus Young Candidate Master. We do have room for more submissions. I go up to a maximum of 10 games per stream. Today is Samuel Clemens' birthday. Happy birthday, Sam. Alright. Someone on Sound is online, but not with us. Zen Chess is online, but not with us. Uber Driver is online, but not with us. Mr. Coffee, we haven't had a submission in a while, but you don't feel obliged to submit games because you feel sorry for me. Mr. Coffee hasn't been playing. He's been too busy. When's the Eastern Open? You said Eastern Open was your next event? Astrobate, when's your next tournament? When's your first tournament? Alright, Astrobate says the combination player thinks forward. He starts from the given position, tries the full stroll moves in his mind. The combination player. Combination lock. Alright, we'll start with Chess Riddler. He's not here yet. Don't know if he's going to make it. Guys, I also want to mention I'm going to do another team battle, intra-team Kraken Ponda team battle. I haven't set it up yet. I'll set it up either tonight or tomorrow and then send out messages. We'll start bombarding everyone with messages from the two prospective teams just to keep you in the loop. I know it's just the three of us. Just the three of us. We can make it if we try. Just the three of us. Use an eye. Christmas Day. What? King Kong Chess, welcome. So, yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty sharp lately. A little sharper than usual. But nevertheless, weather here is... We had snow today in Budapest. Snow. My son brought home a snowball. How are things in Pennsylvania, Mr. Coffee? Okay, Chess Riddler versus Castling Short. Chess Riddler, 2200. What is this, leechess.org? 10 plus 5. Nice. Chess Riddler is exactly 2200. Alright. E4. Uh-oh, could be a Kraken. D4, knight f6, Pierce defense. Chess Riddler plays knight c3, the sharpest move, and now black plays g6. So it is not a Kraken, it's a Pierce defense. White plays the Austrian attack with f4. Oh my god, his opponent played the Kraken. Well, it's a pseudo Kraken. It's a Kraken Pierce. It's a Czech Kraken. Kraken Pierce. Okay, so he's basically like playing the Pierce and then going Kraken style with the a6 on the queen side. Interesting move. It's typically not used against the... Usually black doesn't play a6 against the Austrian attack. The Austrian attack is too dangerous, too immediate. And I'm not sure that black has time to make use of the g6 here. So we need to seriously consider the possibility of pushing e5 directly. It wasn't played in the hand, you know. Well, I mean, there's a handful of games here, is what I want to say. Handful of games. I would imagine that e5 is a totally viable move for white. It's a little early, but, you know, a6 or g6, but combining the two of them, you know, black's kind of spreading himself a little thin. I would imagine this is a fully viable continuation. Now, if white plays e5 and black takes, there'd be two different options. I mean, you can always take like this. After the queen exchange, we take with the knight, and we retain our ability to castle. I had played the Pierce years ago. I mean, this is probably not that threatening. On the other hand, this is more threatening. Black can play knight d5 or perhaps venture knight g4. But I'm a little bit skeptical of black's position here. I think e5 is worth a serious consideration. Not the most fundamental move. So white played instead knight f3. Played by Eric Andrew Kishlik, who has a reputation for his recent chess writings. But I mean, I found him kind of weird. And do you ever have you have a kid come over your house when you're little and they never go home? It was like that. He came to visit me and I couldn't get him to leave. It was very strange. All right. The kid from the neighborhood who wouldn't go home. My parents was like, doesn't he have a home? All right. So, the weird Eric Kishlik against Torok Shandor, FIDE Master. Yeah, Torok Shandor here. These guys play b5. So it's basically a Kraken, but with g6. And I think, the problem with the g6 is that, you know, you're having your apples and you're having oranges on the other side. The Kraken is one thing. I'm fully advocating playing the Kraken, but I mean, you know, I'm not necessarily playing g6. You can't do everything. You know, black's having an everything burger. What would you like on your omelet? Oh, everything. On the everything bagel. So g6 doesn't really do much, you know. And then f4 and then a6 and then knight f3 and then b5. But what does g6 have to do with it? So here, I mean, the acid test has to be e5. Which one of these guys played? Whoever he is. So I was just looking at something very close to this in the Kraken with Asterbait. No, not Asterbait. It was Ubatis, sorry. Asterbait, not you. e5, b4. This is a big problem for black, though, because pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn. In the other variation, white was taking here and black was taking back on g7. In this variation, I guess we just simply recapture. Now black has to take with the pawn. It's not great, but I guess it's playable for black. Any comments, questions? Questions? Is anyone here 1200 from India that would like to ask 7 or 8 questions? Are you 12 years old from India and you like to ask questions? You've arrived at the right place. D takes e5 was played. You know, what is our idea here with black? Black in this case plays more like a Pirch defense. He tries to hold up this knight on d5. This is a nice move, knight e4. So I think that white has a considerable advantage. Like, this move probably no good because of knight c5. But again, I think black's mixing his systems. Sludgy is live. Alright, so the game in question, white played h3. This is really, like, not the right idea here. What does this do? I mean, for one thing, black's playing b5 on the queen side, so there's a high likelihood his bishop's coming to b7. So it's not like, I don't know, bishop g4 was an issue. He can't put his bishop in 2 places at once. You only benefit from cutting out maybe knight g4, but it's not worth the investment, I think. Kishlik played bishop d3, just a sensible, like, developing move. There's nothing wrong with that move for sure. I like it better than h3. h3 is kind of weakening. Now black plays bishop b7, but I mean, I need to know, like, what happens on this. It's a need to know basis. Can someone explain to me what happens after b4? Is it e5? This is not so great. And you've also given black another opportunity, another option to go to h5 in some lines where this will be an issue. So I would definitely stay clear of h3. Is anybody here? Am I just talking to myself besides Asterbait? Mr. Coffee's working. Asterbait's here, and there's no one else. King Kong dropped in for a second. I refuse to stream on chess.com. You know, I will not lower myself to that ever. Hey, Goju. So, alright. h3, bad move. Bishop b7. I still don't understand. What's defending this pawn on e4? Do we do this? And then, I mean, this is fine for black. And this, you know, gets funky. basically we're like, oh, queen e2, knight g3, checkmate. Hope chess. I mean, black could even play f5 here. Unclear position. I mean, white would get the pawn back with like knight takes b4, but then we're getting forked. That's not unclear. Actually, that's good for black. No, I don't advocate this. I feel like we have to play e5, and then takes, probably takes, and white is down a pawn with a move h3 in. I'm pretty skeptical of white's play. So, if you're going to play this kind of thing with like e4, d4, f4, how do you have time for h3, Alright, h3 is a mistake. Bishop b7, bishop d3. I mean, same question now, b4. Now you had to play e5. And now black, black went south quickly here. I'll tell you the one thing about the Kraken that is a problem is this e6 push. And I'm always very careful about that. That's why I will often play e6, not g6. We want to make sure that e6 doesn't come with a powerful effect. So, I mean, this move is just like really bad. Really bad. Black is now going from like fine to be deep trouble in one move. He's totally going Freeze Nielsen. Who is challenging me? Oh, this guy. Alright. So you have to take. Black has to take. And now you have to take. And now the question would be, what would black do? Probably take. Bishop takes. This is a little bit misplaced. And then takes here. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's hopeless, but I don't know that white necessarily has. This pawn on f6 is great because it keeps you off of these key squares. And black's bishop on the long diagonal is tremendous. So I think I kind of like black here. But he goes to completely the wrong direction. Yeah, I mean this is taking the position and throwing it in the trash can. Totally bad. And at this point you can choose like from maybe 2 or 3 different moves that are strong. I mean, knight e4 is like the safe and simple methodology. Knight e2 is probably reasonable. And then there's the wild and crazy, Rodney Dangerfield variation. This looks pretty fun, and it's probably not bad because black has a hard time like defending his guy here. Incidentally, if black takes on c3, our intention is not to just take his knight on d7 because I think like we're borderline clearly worse. You have to try something crazy like takes, check, king f7. But is it enough? Does white have enough compensation here? Like check. I think we should have enough. It's close. This is obviously out because of the fork. So black can play back to e8. Then f7 is weak. But can we access it? You have this. I'm not certain. This can be obviously met by d5. I mean, you have some experimental ideas here. Maybe you have knight takes h7. Experimental. Okay, you can try some crazy stuff. I like e6. But objectively, black should probably take your knight. Okay, he takes on e6. And now the shocking knight to g5. Now he's, well, maybe like kind of transposing, essentially. Takes, knight takes h7. Okay, so he expected knight takes e6. There's a lot of interesting possibilities, but knight e6 has to be analyzed here. And then you have some neat ideas, like queen g4. This isn't going to float because of knight f6. So that's not the point. You go here, you're threatening bishop takes g6 mate. Now, I think that black should consider evacuation. Sorry, Uber Driver, it didn't work. Like most of your ideas. Great to see you, though. Knight takes h7. We should try thinking once in a while. I know that's hard. Knight takes h7, queen c8. Actually, black has a number of different possibilities. You could also move the knight. Let's say knight b6. What's the big deal? You know, bishop takes e6 check, we're running out. The king is relatively safe at d7. I don't really believe that white necessarily has enough compensation for the sacrificed piece here, without going in any like detailed variations. I mean, I think there's a very realistic possibility that white is going too far. The e6 is a good sacrifice, but you don't need to go nuts to pursue a very serious advantage. Oh, Uber Driver, you know, I don't think you were talking about the illegal queen g4 now? No. This is possible, you know, just why do we have to sacrifice a piece at all? You know, just to be fancy? I think white has tremendous compensation here. So knight h7, now rook g8, and now the Uber Driver variation with queen g4 is in fact not mate. Well, but Chess Riddler is playing for the gallery. Bishop takes g6 check. Yeah, I don't think this works. There's a huge problem. I mean, black's going to have this with bishop e4. It reminds me of like a Greek gift sacrifice that doesn't work. Rook takes here, black has bishop e4. And it has this. Like, if you were to attack that, I mean, you could just simply take this or something. I don't think that white's attack is working. You know, this is too fantastic. Too much playing for the gallery here. I attempt to do this similar stuff in a game I'll show you guys a little bit later, a bit more soundly. Black failed to find the defense here. I mean, obviously if king f7, knight g5 check, and frankly, I'm still a little confused what's going on here. I mean, this is mate, right? Check, 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 and mate. But even this is, for me, a little vague. King f6. It looks pretty gruesome, though. I'm sorry, I just clicked the button. You see, I hate that button. Nothing I hate more than that advanced VCR button. There's no more pointless thing in the site, or most chess sites, most chess programs, than that stupid, like, fast forward button. Just, it's not a VCR. This is a terrible move by black, sacrificing his rook. So what do we have now? 2 pieces for the rook. Black has 2 pieces for the rook and a couple pawns. Materially, it's equal. But obviously black's sludgy square, as Mr. Coffee likes, my so-called principle, that helps us to understand how much space we really control. Black's very constrained inside of a small area. Even though both sides have theoretically the same amount of material approximately, spatial constraints. So white to move now. Interesting. I mean, this king can come back here and hide. He plays bishop d5 and now castles. I mean, this is the key, I think. Having the king able to go out to the pasture on c8 or even out here back. Knight takes h7, queen h7, and black seems to be okay in my opinion. Now he plays this for some unclear reason. I mean, I guess it's okay. Pawn takes b2, bishop takes b2, and then knight c6. I think that black's okay here. I don't know. It looks like he's got enough. At least black's like equal chances. What's the eval? Computer thinks that white is still better. I don't think it's that obvious. I think black has a fighting chance here. Perhaps this move cb2 though. Yeah, it's a big mistake. It's kind of surprising. The evaluation falls way down after pawn takes b2. It's almost equal. Black doesn't need to play that. What does it do? What does that do? What is white going to do? Like, take on c3 and have a doubled c-pawn on c3? What possible benefit to black does this do? I mean, okay, white's bishop isn't so placed well on, let's say, b2, but what this does is connects white's rooks for him, first of all. Sorry, do I know you, Uber driver 68? Alright. So black plays accurately here. He's still got a fighting chance after developing. Wow, king c6 is the best move. Idea knight d7. The knight. Fighting, man. This is a really blind move. It just doesn't do anything. I imagine like c4 could play a role here as well. Mindless development. Look at that. Whereas like knight d7 could actually like come over to the king side to help defend. Knight c6 robs the black king of that square and has not as good a future. Okay, he has this, but as Uber Driver points out, the h pawn is going to go down and become a queen. Rook ae1. That's also cool. It's good. It was a good idea for black to really like connect white's rooks. And now rook b8, chink. Ooh, that hurts. And then rook takes c6. So now the only chance for survival would be king c8, I guess. All right. So he figures he can take on e6, and then take on b2, which is reasonable. All right. Rook takes b2. You can't take on e6 because of mate, obviously. So he takes on b2. But I have a real bad feeling about this. Wendy, honey, I think you hurt me real bad. Wendy, my head hurts real bad. I mean, seriously? Black has no sense of danger. It's the white squares. I thought you have queen f5. Can somebody explain to me how queen f5 doesn't work? It has to work. Of course, it could be queen g4 as well. It doesn't have to be queen f5. Except queen g4 is illegal. No, it has to be queen f5. Queen f5. He was probably reluctant because of this, but I still... I feel it, you know. Wendy! Wendy, let me out of here! Mom says, knock you out. Uber driver. I'm gonna knock you out. This is how you got... Dude, this is how you got crushed against me. No sense of danger. That's like the Uber driver king on d7. Black playing the hippo. Rook takes c7 check. This is killing. I mean, black's only move now is... This is mate, right? So... Oh, double check. Is that a thing? King c6. And now I can simply take on f8 with a winning position. Alright. Next question, d5. Oh, wait, just kind of played like another good move. Queen h8. Check. And then took the rook. Everything's winning. Nice game. But, you know, not a clean game. Not a clean game. You created chaos, the opponent made mistakes, but you gotta clean it up. Alright, Mule Skinner is up next. Chess Riddler is making chess riddles, but not... He's not really playing tight, you know. He's real crazy and loose. It's not seamless. But not everybody wants to play seamless chess. If you're just having fun, okay. Guys, don't forget to subscribe. You're all subscribers. Oh shit. Alright. Then donate some gift subs for other people to become subscribers. Can we get some gift subs? Christmas fund. The Christmas fund is stalled around 200. It says 322.52, but it's really like 197.52 or something like that. Mule Skinner submitted a game for today's stream. This is... I can read it to you if you'd like. A game for analysis from last Sunday. 90-30 standard over the board. Mule Skinner's black. This is from... Campeonato Veterano de Granada. But it's funny because white is Haag Vetter. Wait, Haag Vetter, Michael Harry? That's a long name, Jesus. Dude has 4 names. 4, is that enough? Like, this is kind of greedy. I mean, doesn't that take up a lot of carbon? Having 4 names? That'll be the next thing. They'll start complaining that people with long names like have a larger carbon footprint, you know, because we have to keep like writing them out and shit. They say like Bitcoin, you know, is causing like, you know, the use of a lot of water and stuff. But everything like wastes energy. This guy is wasting energy by having too many names. It's like Haag Vetter, Michael Harry. Alright, man, you caused like environmental crises by having 4 names. I'm calling you out on it, and I'm going to send Greta Thunberg to your house to protest your 4 names. Mule Skinner is playing black. How much for carbon footprint? does your name have? So d4, knight f6, and then I feel ill. Ill Skinner. Really, the London system. We have to see a London system. Oh no. Yeah, Max gave up the London system. It was interesting, he had two horrible, horrible games at the World Senior when he played the London system, and I think one he was clearly worse, and the other one he was lost. But he managed 2 draws, and then when it really came time, he basically abandoned the London system. So that goes to show you how good the London system is. Even experienced grandmaster had to drop it after almost losing twice against weaker players. All right. So black plays c5, which is one of many good moves. I personally think it depends on your opening repertoire what you play here. I play b6, d6, g6, c5, d5. The one, let's see, b6, g6, c6 is another move that's interesting. Knight c6. So basically the top 7 moves on the board, e6, I probably played b5. I don't think that b5 is particularly great. No, don't do play this. See, Guju, this is bad. I mean, Angelo Young did that last year at the World Senior against Danielson. There's no reason to play bad moves, to try to combat a harmless opening. It's one thing if you want to play something experimental. This is a concretely bad move. I would say honestly, if you think about it, e4, c5, bishop to b5, e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight a5. It feels a tiny bit more justified because we can kind of quickly attack that bishop with a6 and b5. But I mean, with the bishop on f4, here you're literally misplacing your knight and forcing the opponent to put their bishop on a reasonable square, let's say bishop d2. So now I put my piece on a bad square and forced you to put your piece on a safe square. Why is that good for me? I don't think this is a good idea. I'd rather play knight a5 in the Ras Lima. All right, so c5 now. The Simon Williams move d5 is outside the. Simon is creative, He's not a mindless zombie like most of the people who play the white side of the London. But Simon played the Trompowsky, He has the English chess circuit tradition of the Trompowsky, and after what is it after Queen b6? No, what's the variation I'm thinking of? What am I thinking of? Queen b6? I guess after Queen b6, Bishop c1, we transpose to a kind of Trompowsky. But I was going to say, oh yeah, after Queen b6, Knight c3, this also transposes to a Trompowsky with Bishop d2. This is a bad line for black. I tried playing this for black, and I remember losing in Blitz against the Belgian Grandmaster Wienans in some Blitz games. And then later I saw Nguyen Truongson killing people with this with white. It's just not a good idea. This is a good way to lose the initiative for black. I think that d5 is a testing move, Maybe the best, honestly. It's not clear, what black should do after that. This is experimental. Maybe b5. We'll play it like a ready, and we're We're basically playing the ready, except the guy's bishop's on f4. His extra move is bishop f4, which may or may not be that useful. But again, like, I think most London players are robots, zombies, and they don't know how to think. They're just playing this because some YouTuber told them to play the London system. And then here's the robot style move. Okay, e3. And now you play d5, but I mean, I don't really understand necessarily, like, I guess, Neil Skinner's thinking in terms of move order. This is an aggressive kind of hyper-modern approach with c5. Now white's playing e3. I would want to stay faithful to the hyper-modern style. Obviously, like, queen b6 is also still dangerous because of gambit style stuff. I tried this, like, long ago. There's also weird shit you can do, like knight to d5. I don't advocate this either. I think this is, again, like, you're trying too hard. Two wrongs don't make a right, you know? You can apply this in chess. We're trying too hard to, like, punish white and making bad moves in the process. Yeah, and I also don't recommend knight h5. But same principle, you know, knight d5 is a bad move. Don't play it. Try to stick to principles. But d5 transposes back into really what the London system players want, you know, and that's this kind of classical, old school, traditional type of position. I would say, like, you know, g6 is interesting here. Why not just play, like, and Neil Skinner's playing the Benko, so he should be okay with the kingside fianchetto. I think this is probably black's most dynamic possibility in this position. But d5 is transposing back into... this is one Dlugy game from the World Senior. I think he took here? Am I thinking of a different line? Was this the game where the guy played, like, g6 against Dlugy? I think. There was something like this. Dlugy got in big trouble with white, and he was clearly worse, but got a draw. Advanced the king, d takes c5. No, I mean, the move is like, this is passive, c3. Knight f3 is main line. But this gives up the center. You know, why should it be a good move? So white plays knight f3. Black plays knight c6. Now they can take on c5 here. I mean, this is a variation, but not the main line. White plays knight of bd2 usually. So this is weird. He's going for knight b5. Maybe it's not weird. Now, I had a friend who played this crap with white. I have a friend, though he hasn't really said hi for a long time. Supposedly, like, lives across the street from me, and he hasn't even, like, texted me in, like, 6 months. If he lived across the street from me, I would think, like, I would accidentally run into him on the street, you know? I'm thinking there's something weird going on there. Yeah, this is an interesting move, knight c3. So you're playing a Jabava. White's trying to play a Jabava type of setup suddenly with the trap of knight b5. Here again, I think black might be interested in going with the experimental g6. I prefer it, probably. Knight c6, knight c3, and now you played a6. You what? He's just playing the Slav with white. That's deep, man. That's what we count on you for. Those deep insights. I love making fun of poor Uber driver. He's so easy to pick on. He just keeps asking for it. Okay, the main point of this is the cheapo. I fell into this against somebody. Everybody's like blundered this at some point, where you do e6 and you get like crushed with knight to b5. I just, by the way, this guy, this Josiah Stearman, something fishy there. It must be a kid, but he's played in some pretty fishy tournaments. I saw his name. It's some American kid, but they're hosting these tournaments in like Seattle or I don't know, man. I don't trust these so-called like Skaveningen tournaments where somebody brings in like 5 high-rated players and they play games with 5 lower-rated guys. These type of tournaments have always been scammy. The guy's rated like 2480 now or something. Who is this guy? I think like rich kids have a huge advantage. Their parents organize tournaments and then bring in like players, and the players play badly and they lose a lot of rating points. Kind of suspicious stuff if you ask me. I'm one of the guys who has to like feed back those players, by the way, who lose the rating points to the little kids. I have to like reimburse the strong players who sandbag the ratings to collect money or whatever. They come and they take my points, you know. So it's my points that went to making like some kid overrated. But anyway, enough ranting. Black doesn't fall for this trap. Oh, by the way, you have to be pretty overrated to be 2285 and allow Mikulewski to play like knight b5 against you. Just saying. That's already like, how can you be 2285 FIDE and like miss knight b5? Okay, whatever. a6, bishop e2, e6. You know, the problem with a6 is that we weaken this square and this square, c5 and b6. So knight a4 into here, knight a4 into here at some point later on. Bishop e2, e6, and now the position is fine for black. So I don't know. Bishop e2 doesn't inspire me for white. I just don't like bishop e2. That can't be the right move for white here. I mean, the truth is, like, the London system sort of sucks, and this knight c3 thing is kind of a weird sideline that's probably not objectively dangerous. But even so, bishop e2 feels way too. It feels way too kind of robotic. So you see that the main move is taking. That's the problem. See. This is the problem with a6. I looked at this before, now I remember. So what are you going to do now? If you play e6, white has knight a4. What are you going to do? Give up your dark square bishop? Bishop takes c5, knight takes c5. Nakamura lost, see? Check, c3, queen takes c5. Where's my cowboy? Carlsen 1, So 0. Vachier 1, Nakamura 0. Where's my cowboy? Yeah, this is your game. I mean, long term, what black has a strong pawn in the center. Is it enough to justify giving up a bishop? I don't know. Apparently, yes, according to Magnus Carlsen. So a6 is like, it looks like it may not be the only option here. I don't like c5, knight c6 that much. It looks like objectively you should play like g6. Probably this is better. Not to mention like 100 other options. But there's so many choices against the setup, it's hard to decide. Like c takes d4 is okay, but it's kind of like simplifying. Don't play queen b6. e6 is probably just transposing to a main line. So I guess knight c6 is okay, but on this move now we have to find something. Bishop g4. This seems to be a problem for white if we go by statistics. You're basically defending against the threat of knight b5 with rook c8. You're on a plane. They make me do it. Oh, they still make you do flight mode? Some airlines have been like cutting that out, but alright, so bishop g4 looks like it's a good move. That's probably superior. D takes c5, and now what do we do? Do we have e5 here? Wow, Robert Marcus beats someone I've never heard of. That's an old game. Wow, Robert Marcus from 2003. Alright, so it's Moksudlu with white lost to a 2371. Ouch. But e6 is pretty safe. So we basically totally equalize. Dude, this is totally working. Can white try knight a4 here? It's bad. Holy crap. So white's just worse. Wow. Wow. So bishop g4 just refutes this whole setup. Knight c3 is no good. But you have to know this move, bishop g4. Alright, so a6 is inferior. He goes here, you're out of trouble. But you still didn't resolve your bishop, it's okay though. This fluid setup, this is actually a really good structure against the London Jabava, whatever, Jabava London. I like this. b5, bishop b7. Though the knight is a little more flexible here than on c6 necessarily. So now white castles, and you play bishop e7. But maybe we should think about, as a French defense player, we have to think about alternatives. Yeah, I remember a Capablanca game where it was a Tory attack or something. I mean, this type of idea here might not be that stupid. But again, now it gets like kind of sketchy. Bishop g5, f6, bishop h4, g5, and we have a problem, Houston. It's not working. So knight h5 is premature here. Bishop e7 sort of threatens, well, it doesn't sort of threaten, it like threatens to play. It threatens to play knight h5, but I mean, I would seriously consider b5. I think b5 is totally okay. The idea primarily is to put the bishop on b7 and set up something like queen b6. You're playing French style. Hi there! Did you get my submission perchance? Also, thank you for the gift stuff from Move 11. Arsenal was not forewarned of your attendance. We'll look. Let me see. Let me check. Arse. Just arse. Arse and arson. Satan or Santa? Man, there's so many Arsenal fans, my God. It's like looking up Smith. Wink, wink. Alright. So we got messages, hate mail. Hi, Sudgy. If possible, here's a game I played. Alright, this is going in. Copy. Tools, analysis, whatever. Add a chapter. Yep. Create chapter. Alright, only Ars fans. Satan. Wait, is there like a... If we use the letters in Arsenal, can we spell something else? See if we can make up some kind of, what's it called? Oh no, I didn't save it. Anagram. Pandagram. Is there an anagram for Arsenal? Arsenal. I can't even spell. I need glasses. So anyway, we're in the middle of Muleskinner's game, and he does play b5 a little later, but bishop e7 is kind of restrained. I think the problem with bishop e7, well, there's no problem with it, it's okay, but I mean, white can take on c5, and then you're going to have to like move your bishop again. Really a minor problem. We're still happy to see white. We're still happy to see white like abandon his center. So he played h3. Okay, this is also obviously a very sensible move. Black castled now. So our threat of knight h5 was in vain. But you know, as far as like the London Jobava thing goes, it's kind of a harmless, relatively harmless position. The main danger of those London Jobava things is really like white playing a sharp position where it's like opposite side castling, white going queen side and then throwing stuff at you on the king side. When you get this type of situation, I don't think that white, you know, really has anything. And in fact, like that knight, you know, is a Chigorin knight that's essentially shut down. So Arsenal, of all people, would know that knight is going to need to reroute. And white would be better with the bishop on d3, where it could reroute to e2, maybe. Alright, so castles, and then queen d2. This is kind of a cringy move. I don't think that the Hebi would play queen d2. You know, before we had the so-called Jobava London, Mark Hebden was playing the white side of the so-called Barry attack for years. And the setup is basically something like this, you know. You do bishop e2, knight c3, knight f3, bishop f4, e3. And if black castles early and plays g6, you play like h4, h5. But I don't think, like, you know, an experienced Veresov player or Barry attack player is going to play queen d2 here. I think what you're going to see 99% of the time is either like, okay, voluntarily retreat the bishop back, or you play knight e5. You know, with knight e5, we have a stronghold on the square, and when there's an exchange, you take with the bishop, and maybe later we play f4, maybe the bishop comes to f3 to this diagonal, and the knight ultimately can fall back here to like e2, let's say, where it gets out of the way of the c-pawn. That's the normal idea. Is it possible for white to play e4 and not knight g5, and play knight g5? If takes e4 with the pawn. You're being, are you being like dyslexic, or you're talking about black playing knight e4? Oh, you mean like this? You're talking about this type of thing. Oh, you mean like for white going here, like taking back with the pawn? So this type of thing, playing for like e4. You're saying like, are there situations where we'll do like this? Maybe for white. I mean, in a vacuum, if this is what you mean, it's like positionally dubious, because black will have kind of like, the dominant majority, whereas our majority on the king side is sort of stagnant. It's the doubled pawns. But if that's what you mean in general, it's like a possibility. But I think like the normal thing to do is we play knight e5, take with the bishop, and white just has an approximately equal position. But we have an advantage like structure-wise because of that knight giving us like pressure on the c file. Queen d2 is artificial kind of move. b5 is a good move. Knight e5 he plays now, okay, and then bishop e7. I think this is good. Why do we have to take on e5 necessarily right away? And now, not clear what white should do. Bishop e2, or sorry, h2. Bishop h2 could result in a tempo loss. It's not a big deal necessarily. I'm just saying, in a closed position. So what should white do? Something like this. Maybe, can I hope my, Slav players, I'm always like I feel cringed out when they put the rook there. That's like, oh, wow, nice file for your rook you've got there. Not clear what white should do in this position. Now, I like black from the perspective of pawn structure. Ultimately, white should probably play bishop h2. And then the plan would be f4, I guess. Actually, all right. Let's think outside the box a little bit. Maybe it's better to play bishop g3 from some level of. Now our queen is really sorry. It's on d2. It's just exposed. So now we're screwed. So this queen doesn't belong on d2 here. It's pretty clear now. All right, bishop e7, f3 because of that. And honestly, white didn't necessarily want to play f3. He just weakened his king side. I think he'd rather play for f4, Stonewall style. So f3, and now, this diagonal is super weak. Black plays rook c8, threatening tricks with knight takes d4. And now white, has an idea of this. Well, there's always king h1. First priority should be to make sure nothing bad happens with this diagonal for white. He plays knight d1, and now on pawn takes pawn, unfortunately black has this. White has this. We don't have this because of this, and then this. So on this we have to recapture, and white will have time to pick up the pieces, right? Like rook takes, pawn takes. Still black has some pressure, but I'm not sure we really benefited from that pawn exchange. So this is a mistake in a sense. Another move that black can make, Arsenal fan, if you want to challenge, if you really want to challenge the white control is just simply knight d7. After knight d7, white really has no choice but to trade knights, I think, and the game is equal. This is very equal. I would say knight takes c6, and neither side can claim an advantage really. It could get kind of boring actually. So he plays knight takes e5. Now bishop takes e5, and now you don't have to play knight d7. But I think that it's a reasonable move. And remember, the Mule Skinner is a French defense player. Arsenal's suggestion of knight e8 is also very reasonable. This is a nice idea. because you have c4 and f5. White would likely play g4. Having played f3, I would say there's a strong chance of g4, and white will keep control of f5 and go for some space on the king side. But I like black on the queen side here. I think as far as like French defense goes, black has a decent French defense here, you know, for all intents and purposes. So we can eventually trade here at some point on d4 and like try to execute what is really a very standard like minority attack on the queen side. Sorry. We're going to get the structure where black is maybe trying to do the minority attack on the queen side, but white has maybe some chances on the other side. So anyway, let's see. Knight takes c5, bishop takes, sorry, knight d7, bishop g3. You know, I was going to suggest this in a different position. Bishop g3 makes sense in cases where maybe you would be going out here. I don't really see that happening here. Hey now. Bishop h2 looks a little more normal. This looks weird to like interfere with his g-pawn. It's like he was afraid, or he thought he might need his bishop to go here or something. I think h2 is better now. Black makes a normal French defense move. Your suggestion of bishop f6 is viable. The only thing is, like, if you do any sort of bishop f6, like f4 could come in and you have to like probably, you know, reposition it or something like that. I mean, the bishop's in a good position where it is. I think what black's doing here is very logical, applying more pressure to the center. White should play c3 at some point coming up. This is a good move, king h1, and now black plays bishop f6. But what? Bishop f6 is good. Winning control of d4 square. White is too slow. Probably the last move was a mistake, maybe, like if c3. What if he had played c3? I mean, he's afraid of b4, probably. I can chip away at the white center. But at least I could play, like, bishop f6, f4 now, and try to, like, prevent e5. This still looks better for black in all lines. Here, nice. c3. And basically, like, e5. I would say black is just better after e5. Only Ars fans. Balls of Steel. Move 11. Move 11 is in possession of Balls of Steel. It's a workout video by Roman Djindjiashvili. Alright, it's like Buns of Steel. This... Alright. But why not e5? I think that Skinner doesn't like the backward pawn. But you're totally in command here. This backward pawn, it's like whatever. Black has a clear advantage. I like e5. You know, he went for b4, which is like stirring the pot a little bit. Very thematic though, you know, undermining of the white pawn chain. Also good. There's a town near Budapest called Alsógöd. Uh-oh. Do we have any tactical problem now? Oh, Neil Skinner with the combo. Okay, so he didn't like this capture on b4. Well, it's a nice pawn you've got on d5 now. takes here, in between move. And now if pawn takes, this looks winning for black. So he has to take back, and now from my perspective where I'm sitting, it looks like knight takes c5 is the expected move. But it's not clear to me if like this line is better than the other one that we had with the simple e5 break. Like if we go back to that variation, I said e5. Let's say e5. What does white do? You're overwhelming this. So I don't know if he takes here, or he takes here, or he tries to hunker down like bishop f2 or something. I suppose that white could play bishop f2 and try to just survive there. It's not so simple. We can't actually force him to cave in this position. That's true. Although black is clearly better. Not exactly sure how we pursue the advantage. So b4 is more dynamic. Okay, takes, giving up center, bc, takes here. But queen takes is surprising to me. But maybe it's good, I don't know. It looks exposed. I would pretty much automatically take with a knight in whoa, damn dude, the volume. Wow, what was that? Damn, Arsenal fan said turn that down. Imagine, when was it, like a year ago, Arsenal said I should turn down the volume on that shit. Did I add please? Arsenal. I confused it with Astrobait again. Astrobait is tip 2315. May I submit a Benoni instead of the game I gave yesterday? Yes. Please. May I please submit a Benoni? $23.15. Our Christmas fund for glasses and a chair has grown, but it isn't really 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but we'll pretend it is. Nils says put $125 in for lessons. So we'll just pretend it's at 345 for Acerbate's sake, because he made it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're not going to tell him that it's really at around 220 right now. I would defeat the purpose of his donation. Astrobate, please send me the game. So I don't understand what queen takes is about. Why do you want your queen to be exposed here? Clearly, like, rook takes gets forked by knight a4. This seems like a no-brainer. Is there some issue? I mean, are you looking at b4, some sort of tactic? I don't see any reason not to play knight takes c5. But I also don't think, like, black has a winning position, and black's just better. Alright, queen takes c5, mystery move here. Now he moves the queen again, because it was misplaced. And then white plays this. Rook f8, black slightly better. Now bishop d3. I think that's obviously a reasonable move on this diagonal. Now you might want to play g6 at some point, but it's not absolutely necessary. Now I feel a little bit stupid for playing bishop d3, because this is you know, I mean, there's also this diagonal, but this threat is pretty serious. Like, you're going to have to take that. But now a very surprising move by white. I think if I was white, I would give serious consideration to this. And then, like, secretly try to, like, take my pawn back and put it back on h2 when the opponent wasn't looking or something like that. But still, white's position is bad, no matter what he plays here. So he goes here and allows that knight. Oh my god. He's going to play for Acermate. Phew, this looks fatal. Here. Nice Acermate you got there. And then shockingly g6. And now this is gone. Black has a double threat. Knight takes here as well as knight takes e3. We're tripled on c3. Trebled. The treble with triples. Makes me think of a good Mora, where we had to give back the pawn. White is just totally screwed now. That's the point. I mean, that's what happens when you like lose control of your center. And I was never really thrilled with the move f3. So he plays bishop f2. Now, there's a problem with knight takes combo that our bishop is hanging. So the knight combo doesn't work because your guy is hanging here at b7. But nevertheless, like, the knight is just a winning outpost. Bishop e1 wasn't possible. No, you had the fork. I mean, there's the fork. Oh, you want to play this anyway? Allowing this? With crazy tactics like that? I could do counter tactic. I think white ends up losing material. There's no... Is there a discovery that works? I don't think so. It's a nice try, Arsenal. Bishop f2. And now the question is, what should black do? We got another. Bury the cat. Bury the cat. We had a follower. Wow. I mean there's actually 14 people who really take chess seriously, that don't want to watch me like play GeoGuessr or something, or, you know, use some weird voice intonations to make myself sound cool. Alright, well, Astrobate, let's get your game in there. Please substitute my game. Alright. Analysis board, copy, study. We didn't do your game yet? Losing my mind. Alright, Astrobate is next. Delete chapter. Okay. We're getting things in order here. Alright, Milskinner, near the end of the middle game now. Thank you, Astrobate. Blum, blum, blum. And then the knight gets in. And now, where's the killer? Where's the crushing blow for black here? Combos. I like this. I like this. I like this. I like this. Where's the common denominator? You know? Can I get game analysis? You can. You can go to the bathroom. Do you have the hall pass? I can give you a hall pass if you want. I want to do this. But it's, you know, it's just winning, maybe. There may be a shot here with d4. Our main idea is this. I mean, this is a beautiful idea, but it's too vague. We have bishop g5 though, which seems to win the exchange. There's lots of possibilities. There's like knight a3, you know, takes, rook takes c3, but what does it do, you know? Does it trap the queen? No. Does black win material by force? No. You know, it's something clear. This is such a thematic breakthrough, though. Everything's protected for black except the bishop on b7 that can be attacked by queen b3. It's a minor detail. d4 looks really good, dude. Yeah, we could have some maybe weaknesses on the dark squares. Tails from the dark squares. But I should make a Halloween video. I'll probably get like sued for copyright infringement. Oh no, you guys seeing the wrong board? Oh no. You're seeing the wrong board again. Are you seeing things? I hate watching that streamer. He's always like talking about the wrong position. Advanced chess, man. So, can we get more than 15 viewers? Everybody gets a relative to sign in now. I'm tired of having 15 videos. I'm tired of having 15. We need more. Bring your friends and countrymen who take chess seriously. Be a part of this. Help to make this a community. This is your chess community. Dude, d4 is so thematic. Alright, Mule Skinner's on the plane. He played this, come on. This move, it doesn't inspire me. What's the number one adjective that you guys can come up with when you look at the move Rook c6? Can we get a poll? Can we get a poll? What's the best adjective to describe Rook c6? Clumsy, awkward, you know. It's an extremely strange choice. He wants to double on the file though. It's not a bad move. It's a protected square where, you know, Mule Skinner is going to double on the file. Everything stays protected. He's going to double up here. Extremely transparent. But the thing about the move is that it interferes with the bishop's radioactive, you know, isotopes on the long diagonal. There's actually a possibility of this, you know. I just realized. So we could actually play Rook c8 and like Rook b6. You have to watch this diagonal. But I wonder about d4. I mean, is there a defense to d4? Do you have this? This is a problem. Surprised Arsenal didn't spot this. Well, you know, the problem with it is actually that it maybe doesn't do that much. You know, knight e4, bishop g7. And I would argue like BFD. Our Sladgy square. I don't know if Arsenal was here for Sladgy squares. Sladgy square of black is significantly larger than the white Sladgy square, which is here. We've got good spacing and coordination. I think white's pretty much bust though. Now we're threatening devastating discoveries. The double Ds. Alright, Rook c6 2 routine. And then the make me puke on the board move. Yeah, that's not happening. I'd rather just like straight up lose a pawn than put my rook on d3. Paul Lind for the block. Double Ds. If you're looking for tickets to the Knicks game, I have a friend who's trying to sell his Knicks tickets. Knight a3 probably works somehow. Dude, this is like taking Rook c6 but making it even uglier than Rook c6. Can you guys stop putting rooks on awkward squares? This is better for black though. At least that's like he's within his zone. We're playing within our zone. This rook is actually behind the line of the pawns, you know. Rook d3 is like out in front. It's worse than Rook c6. Like way worse. No, he was just trying to sell his tickets for face value to like a friend or something. Rook d3. Yeah, I mean that's crazy. Here. And now it's like knight takes b2, lights out. Maybe not. We still have to worry about the bishop on b7. But it looks like Rook b6 is really strong. Arsenal fan. Queen c7. Ooh, look at that. Whoop. Whoop, there it is. But Mule-Skinner goes to b6 with a very straightforward sort of double attack. And then knight a4, queen a7. Are we lost yet? Don't care. This is one of those kids that like hangs on. They're like professional people that are like professional and like playing out lost positions for as long as humanly possible. And they actually enjoy it. The queen e2. We still haven't taken down any material yet. Damn it. Knight takes something. Can we take something at some point? My god, dude, we still can't. I can't believe it. Black had to have made a mistake if we can't win material by now. b3 is interesting. You have like no fear. b3 is interesting. What are you talking about? What do you mean it's interesting? Interesting for black. Surely you jest. Arsenal just likes making wild suggestions. I don't think this is interesting. I think this is like fatal. I'm not sure what you would possibly do after that. After this. I'm winning just a pawn, right? You can pin me, but I'll just like protect it. Oh, I'm actually taking your rook. No, there's like nothing you can do. He has to get out of there. And I can't believe black has nothing here. There's got to be something that wins material in this position. There's no way that black isn't winning material by force in this position. White is just too poorly coordinated. Knight takes b2. Rook takes... Do you have to drive your luggage down the street outside my apartment? Alright. At least there's no screaming babies tonight. Knight takes e3. Rook takes c6. If Mule-Skinner doesn't win this, I'm gonna cry, dude. This feels... There's got to be something here. Knight b2. Rook takes c6. Rook takes c6. Knight takes b2. Rook c1. Hello? Is it me you're looking for? Rook d1. How do you defend against that? Deep combos. But maybe he has a defense. I don't know. He's got to get out of the line of fire here. And the thing is, like, king h2 is not a very safe move. I don't know, man. This is a problem. Bishop b2, queen b2, rook takes d1. If this position looks completely equal to you, you're in the right place because you're going to learn something. Any relationship between completely equal and this position are completely incidental. Like, I'm serious, man. Everything about this position is bad for white. The only thing equal about this position is the material balance. In every other respect, black is like clearly dominating. But knight d6 is a passive move. This is a huge mistake. Knight is like powerful forward position. We have tactics all over the place. I mean, this might work, right? Rook takes. Wait, why doesn't this win? This simply wins a pawn, right? This simply wins a pawn. Now the knight is hanging. There's no tricks or nothing. I mean, all right. We're gonna have to think before we make comments we're really gonna have to start thinking before we make comments in the chat here. Sorry, this is serious analysis. We can't just like say the first thing that we see. White has central control. This is controlled by black. This is controlled by black. This is controlled by black. This is dominated by black. Black has better control of arguably like all 4 central squares. So I don't know what talk about white has control center and stuff. What is he talking about? All right. Please, constructive comments are welcome, but just saying random stuff is very much a waste of time. Knight takes this. This is winning. Doubled up here. We just have to take. We could take here now. I thought this was interesting as well. Like there's two possibilities. You can take with a rook, and by the way, like besides the fact that you have this check, if you try something fancy like bishop f2, black just goes like d4, just for kicks and giggles. But this is like lame and just wins a pawn. Queen e3, or rook e3, bishop takes a4. Just clear pawn up for black with a better, safer king. Everything is better for black. So huge mistake by Mule Skinner, pulling his knight off of d6, not gaining a material advantage. He's still clearly better, but if we can net a material advantage, we should take it. He had both combos. It looks like both. This is far more complicated. But knight takes e3 seems to win a pawn really easily. I wanted to see this, though. Rook c6, rook c6. Let's say, like, rook takes d3, rook c1. Now, white... I mean, this is kind of complicated at this point, to say the least. But the coordination that black's pieces have is like, way beyond white. There's a threat of bishop h4. The pawn can come into play. The queen is very powerful here. There's no way this isn't good for black. If I just click on the engine, plus 1.6, 2.4. So Mule Skinner, this is huge, man. You gotta play more tactically. You've got to take advantage of your opportunities. Knight d6 is pulling out, and still you're good, but rook c6, okay. This is tough. The file... Remember, this knight is on the side of the board. I'm not sure which recapture is actually better. You play bishop takes here. That's nice, but you're essentially like forcing the opponent to make a constructive move. With rook takes, you keep control of the file, and the knight sits on the side of the board. I don't know. That might actually be as good or better. We're still better. Now knight c4. Other moves deserve consideration. a5. Attacking themes like knight f5, maybe. Here. I like this. Irresistible. Really irresistible pressure. Black has a massive advantage because of the PowerPoint presentation on d5. PPP. The pawn radiates pure energy. It could feel like Bitcoin for the rest of our lifetimes, really. So knight c4, we're just kind of like chucking it out there again. And now knight d1 looks like a reasonable defense. White plays bishop f2. Now our bishop's in the way of the pressure. Queen b7, good move. Here. There's this. So the main idea is like knight takes b2, rook b3 type of stuff. I mean, I have no idea what's going on. Like, knight takes d1, rook takes b7, knight takes f2 check, queen takes, bishop takes. Can somebody tell me who's better here? Because I'm having a little trouble, like, really not being 100% sure. I think I might rather be black. It's zeros. So many combinational chances for black. Bishop b5, rook b3. And now move the queen again. If you're going to move the queen somewhere, where do you put it in this position? I would say c7. Because you have this. You have this. This queen there. And then this. Maybe queen d7 isn't as good. Here. I don't understand how black isn't winning material now. Bishop a4, he finally wins material. Rook d3. Ugh. I thought he would take on d1. Give up your bad bishop. He has to take with a rook. And then you take b2 with tempo. And now white's only move is rook c1. We're a clear pawn up in the ending. We should be able to win. What I don't like about this move, and I prefer with the bishop takes d1, you know, going into this position in this endgame is like the imbalance. I think I'd like the imbalance of knight versus bishop here. White stays in a balanced sort of situation in this line. Knight takes b2. We trade knight for knight. Knights are more like decisive pieces than bishops and rooks. I think I'd rather keep the knight on the board. Bishop takes. Nevertheless, we're up material. We're up a clear pawn. And we have rook c1 check. And we won a piece. Okay, so he wins anyway. Bishop g3, queen b5, queen b5, a b5. I was afraid that Emil Skinner was going to like mess it up in time pressure. But it looks like he got the win anyway with rook d1. Oh, nice dominating game. You know, you played pretty well. Thank you guys. All right, Astrobate, new suggestion, new submission. It's getting quiet in the chat room. We're down to 10 viewers. Where did everybody go? They've gone to Betsons. Sorry, I just let the chat freeze there. This is an open position. Oh man, Uber Driver and King Kong. Well, I mean, are you really, King Kong, going to call this an open position? I mean, like at that point? Whoa, wrong game. An open position. You should have lessons with Uber Driver. 'Cause he's a specialist in being dogmatic. I mean, if you talk about open positions, I mean, this is an open position. I don't know. I mean, black has quite a closed structure, like that big island there. I mean, to me, it's like a semi-open French defense. I wouldn't call this like a super open position. We still have 6 pawns each. There's still 12 pawns on the board. You're dogmatically like trying to claim that the bishops are important. Look at these bishops. They're totally stymied by white's pawns. I think giving up the bishop here is actually a good move. After bishop takes, this knight is stronger than either one of those bishops. And it's not necessarily an open position. You know, it could become open if white makes a break with like e4. But still, I mean, I think this is more of a semi-open closed, semi-closed position. The knight is clearly as strong or stronger than a bishop here. Hacker University is now enrolling. I don't know. I don't know why we don't get any viewers. Like, no one wants to learn chess. They just don't like me. It's okay. It's okay. Don't learn chess. You know, suck at chess. I should go like full Elon Musk on people. If you don't want to learn chess, fuck you. You know. I'm not going to start with Elon Musk. All right, Arsenal and I are on good terms now. I just think it's kind of funny. I'll just look. Nobody wants to watch my stream. Fine. I'll just get Linda Yaccarino to be my like CEO. Everything will be okay. All right. No, seriously. All jokes aside, this is mostly like, you know, family friendly. Not too much profanity. Honestly, I think after Elon Musk's "fuck you" tweet is the first time I saw the mainstream media actually publish an uncensored like F word like in literal articles ever. You know, like normally everybody's like, oh, the F word. You know, now it's like you can publish that. All right, I'm just gonna like we need another setting like invisible. I don't want to ban people and like time them out. Can I just make them invisible? All right. I make you invisible. No, how do I make people invisible? Mr. Coffee, is there like a command for that? If I don't want to block someone or kick them out or make them feel bad, can I like shadow ban them or something so I don't see what they type? There's probably some way to do it. I just want to make sure I don't read Uber driver. Wait, I just pinned something. What did I just pin? Benoni. I don't know. I pinned something Astrobate said. Dude. Delete this message. I'm terrible with the mouse. My mouse skills is bad. It's so annoying. Not enough options. I'll just have to keep living with it. Alright, can we get another London system? Astrobate is black. I keep slipping down. Alright, let's talk about Nylon Mask. No. Let's talk about chess. We're here to talk about chess. Thank you, King Khan. I think you're the best viewer. Almost. Alright. D4 knight f6. The Benoni. You should face Bentwo. He's much better. Open face roast beef sandwich. Alright. C4, C5, D5, E6. And then E4. Wow. Now that I've never seen. That's awesome. That's awesome, dude. No, that's it's like hyper aggressive. It's not a blunder, it's a sacrifice. You know, this works a lot in the Blumenfeld. Imagine if this guy like what would this guy do if like Astrobate like play Astrobate, you should play like the next time you play this guy, play the vulture with knight e4. He'll be like freaking out, clicking e4, but he can't. It's like illegal. Imagine if you played the vulture, he would be like totally beside himself. Alright. The vulture is totally unsound. So e4, e6, e4. A nice try, and it worked. It was a nice bluff by this guy. Astrobate just wasn't paying attention. It's like an improved vulture. It's like a vulture with a... It's like a full vulture. A vulture with a pawn in its belly. This is like the best vulture of all time. You win the e-pawn, and now you're threatening stuff like queen a5 check just for fun. But the idea would be quick development. This has got to be good in like bullet chess, you know. I think in bullet chess e4 is reasonable. Bishop d3, and if you check, queen a5 is always bad, as we've said many times here. Boom. No. I just take the queen with check and just eat another pawn. King f1. King f1, and now black, you know, has to retreat or take on d5. But this is not bullet chess, and bullet chess is a waste of time anyway. White lost a pawn for nothing, and not just any pawn, but a central pawn. Having said that, there are situations where this type of sacrifice can be dangerous. In this type of structure, black is having trouble getting out. So you got to get out quickly. If you do, you know, if white does play bishop d3, probably queen a5 check is a reasonable move. And king f1, it would be the most combative. White could maybe develop the rook by h4 later on. Not sound in a slow game, but you know, not bad for a pawn sacrifice in a fast game. Anyway, he played e takes d5. Now, what happens when bad moves go unexploited? Anyone? Kids? Subscribers? Raise your hands. What happens when bad moves are unpunished? They don't go to the principal's office. No. What happens to bad moves when they don't, or when they go unpunished? No, when bad moves go unpunished, they oftentimes become good moves. This is the point, you know. Like, you have to be incisive. You have to exploit the bad moves immediately, or they oftentimes become good moves. You let this guy play e4, right? You let him play e4 and you didn't take the pawn. Now you took on d5. If he cooperates and takes with the c pawn, maybe you can still grab this. And the e-file you can navigate because of like queen e7 or whatever. But what happens when he takes with the e-pawn now? Or even better yet, what happens if white plays e5? Are we sure this is good? Or is this now like bad for black? If ed5 we get a snake Benoni, but what if ed5 doesn't happen? I mean, this is okay for black, but it's transposing to something real. My point is, like, what about this move? But I don't trust black's position. Knight e4 is trash. You know, white is like better now after queen takes d5. Uber Driver, do you play a lot of Eric Rosen's ideas in practice? You're in the wrong stream. I'm just promoting like real chess here. So Astrobate doesn't take the pawn. It's like, dude, you got to take the pawn. Some pawns you have to take, some you don't. But this one you had to take. E takes d5, e takes d5. You're lucky he doesn't play e5. If you play queen e7... This is like a Benko theme. Well, he plays queen e2. And uh-oh. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh, Rastro. Now again, we're not better. We're actually seriously screwed. You know, it looks like black is on the verge of being seriously screwed here. So there may be no like middle ground, you know. If you don't exploit it, maybe you're worse. There isn't necessarily a middle ground. This would have been the middle ground. You know? But he didn't choose that. I mean, sorry, he did choose that. He chose the middle ground. So, now, Acerbate, Arsenal fan, whatever. This so-called, whatever, Snake Benoni, it's a move, you know. But wait, as Queen E2 check, it's kind of annoying, you know. Now I have to choose between King F8 and Queen E7, or, you know. So, experimental, but you should play this D6. And now we transpose to some kind of ED Benoni. Knight C3. White has a really good score here. Strangely, not a lot of games. I guess the move order for black is a little like inaccurate. Franco Benoni. Bishop E7, Knight F3, castles, and now, you know, H3 deserves consideration. Uber driver. Is Uber driver, you're going to try to defend this trash position? C5, D5, E6, E4. Knight takes, sorry, pawn takes pawn, E5. Knight E4, queen takes D5, queen A5 check. Seriously? Are you kidding me? I have a suggestion. I'm going to say King E2. Now, what exactly you're going to do? You have more tricks up your sleeve? You have F5. Do I hear F5? Anybody? F5? Anyone for F5? Going once, going twice, going 3 times. F5 sold to the Uber driver. And F3. Now you're gonna need to come up with some real bullshit now. I think you got to sack a piece. Probably your best shot is something like Knight to C6. Exactly. Arsenal's suggestion. Knight to C6. When, you know, our main line should be pawn takes pawn. Black plays Knight D4 check. And there's a threat of Knight to C2. So, obviously King D3 now. Things could get a little weird. King D1. Now what's next, Uber driver? Queen E1 check? Or what are we going to do here? Queen A4. You want to keep going? B3. Knight takes B3. I'm going to tell you guys that this is better for white. And then I'm going to click on the computer. Okay, it's a little better. You have 2 winning variations. FE4. Something like this. But anyway, okay, there's a lot of scammy stuff. But I just wanted to prove Uber driver wrong. You know, guess it's like a little messy. I could probably lose a rook up, but objectively it's not good. Not enough to stop the analysis and go back, you know, to defend the position. So Knight F3 castles. Okay, Bishop D3 now. There's an important option here for Acerbate to play Bishop G4. when you play the Benoni, one of the most important fundamental rules of Benoni Club, move 11, what would Big Mama do? Big Mama. Let's gang up on the Uber driver now. It's a consideration. Anyway. Now, Rook E8, novelty. Castles, again, a second chance to play Bishop G4. You know, one of the things about this position, I would say, isn't like this. Trading pieces, but going back. With the idea of trading off White's bad bishop. Do we really feel good about that, you know? Is it really an achievement? It's not the ultimate exchange, so I don't think Bishop G4 is a little overrated. Black's worse here, by the way. You know, it's not a really recommended opening. Alright, Asterbate plays Bishop F8. While this is an idea, it might be too early. I like the other suggestion of Oswaldo Zambrana. Knight e6, Knight c7. This is standard idea in the Franco Benoni to play. Yeah, Knight h4. Well, Knight h4 is a standard idea in these Franco Benonis, by the way. It kind of reminds me of like a bad Petrov for Black. This, of course, is an idea in a lot of positions. Bishop f8, yeah, you're gonna get that sometimes. So White played Bishop g5. Yeah, so I think here you got to consider playing h6 now before White does something like Knight h4. Maybe not. I guess it's not necessary, but I mean this is definitely a thing. Knight e4. Here Asterbate has this problem, right? Big problem. Now Knight h4. Knight e5 maybe. But you're very cramped. So Asterbate's Saggi square. This is the problem with the Franco Benoni. Mr. Coffee's working. We draw like a square based around like how much spacing our pieces have. If we just use pieces to guide us. White's space advantage here very significant. You know, we're very cramped and we haven't achieved any exchanges. So we have a lot of conflict of interest, let's say, between our own pieces, right? Inner turmoil. It's like the Trump White House. The Black position is the Trump White House. I like to get political, right? Alright, we got a lot of that coming in the next year. Let's save it for later. Knight on bd7, Queen c2. This is actually the dumb end of the diagonal. But at the same time, you know, if you can force Black, I think if you can force Black to make a weakening of his position, Queen c2 may be very constructive. You could play Queen c2, induce g6, and then play Queen d2 later, and now you have dark squares that are weakened. So while it might be a dumb square for the Queen at the moment, you can induce g6. But going back, Asterbate, like if you notice Knight a6. This is an idea you almost never incorporate into your Benonis. But this move has a lot of advantages in this position. You have the idea of Knight b4. You have the idea of Knight c7. Because in the Franco Benoni, unlike the normal modern Benoni, like your pretty much only break is b5. So you need to use this idea of Knight c7, a6, Rook b8, and b5. Right. You're most importantly, as Arsenal is talking about superfluous knights. Your knights are superfluous, but also it also blocks the bishop from mobility on c8. So you have a lot of things, you know, that might be a little smoother with Knight a6. It's not a one-way street though, you know, because if you put the knight on a6, clearly you have less control of e5. You don't have the ability to play knight on b7, supporting that knight at f6, so these are complicated decisions. Bishop g5, queen c2, g6. You have to consider h6 pretty seriously. I mean, this is a big moment for black, you know. But I mean, there's no place for the bishop to go. I agree, like g6 is more natural. To give yourself bishop g7. But this needs to be considered. You know, h6, then what? This is clearly not a good move for white. If he goes to h4, you can... g5 is very, very dangerous. You have to consider it, though. I mean, as crazy as this looks, I'm not sure that white can sack a piece here. It seems like it just about might work, but I like g6. All right, g6, and now white just totally left the building. Check out his next move. Arsenal fan, g5 scary. Of course it is. I'm only like suggesting like that we analyze the forcing moves, no matter what, you know. No matter how scary they might look, if it encourages like some kind of sacrifice that objectively doesn't work, it's an option. If we have to defend, you know, with balls of steel, then we have to defend with balls of steel, you know. I mean, all right, g6, bishop e2. Say what? The guy puts his bishop back on e2. I mean, I'm having trouble understanding that. You've got an opportunity to contest the open file. You have queen d2. You can play a patient move like h3 or something, but you go bishop e2. That's extremely strange. You know, this is like the weirdest move ever. Wow, Arsenal used the exact same words as me. Literally, he said, extremely strange. What a coincidence. Extremely strange and mega natural. Now, if I start like saying mega natural in the next 5 minutes, then we're definitely afraid, okay? I'm not sure I've ever used those two words together. Bishop e2, bishop g7, rook a e1. That would be good if he hadn't played bishop e2. Like, I can only imagine that he's somehow having paranoid thoughts about like trying to hit the knight on h5 or something. Why in the world would you want to like unimprove your bishop back to e2? And now Asterbate couldn't resist. It's weird, man. He wanted to get out of the pin. But I told you 100 times, I'll tell you, mega natural. 1985. I said it in 1985. It had to be the 80s. Asterbate always plays a6 when he doesn't know what to do. And here it's like the most mega natural move. It sounds like something Trump would say. I can't stop myself for the Trump shit. Alright, a6. It's gonna be mega awesome. Why would you not play a6? First, you know, I could see queen a5, but I mean a6 is your default move anyway. a6, rook b8. I can't believe you didn't play... Oh, that's funny. They're mega natural. Alright. Queen a5. Because this guy hates like retreating bishops back clearly to the 7th rank. After the last move, bishop back to e2, like, are you serious? Do you think he's got any qualms about playing bishop d2? I would think like this is coming almost instantaneously, based on his proclivity to like retreat well-placed bishops, you know, back to the 7th rank. Then it would be like balanced too. You stop knight b5 as well. This is like missing the point. Bishop d2 was better because it actually it actually kind of threatens stuff. A3 doesn't. Maybe B4 later, but I mean, now you should continue with A6. Alright. But whatever. So you played this. And now I just want to caution everyone, and Arsenal knows this as a Benoni player, but we never really want to take with the pawn here. Because we'll block Dragon and Benoni. And whatever variations the King's Indian where you have an open bishop. But generally speaking, we want to take back with the rook on e5 so as not to obstruct our own bishop. More importantly, we don't want to give white like a protected passed pawn on d5. Acerbate's move, knight e5 makes sense on a level where you're like trying to trade pieces with less space. And also, we're bringing bishop f5 because we can. But I'm a little bit worried about one thing in particular. Knight e5, rook e5, bishop f4. If we lose the base of our pawn chain at d6, it's basically game over. Well, I think d takes e5 will have to be my suggestion finally. I have bishop f5 here, but it doesn't really save us, does it? Now queen d2. And this would even lose a piece, because the queen is hanging on a5. Always make sure your pieces are not protected, Acerbate. That's the first rule of my stream. Don't play queen a5 and make sure all of your pieces are unprotected. So knight e4 wouldn't work. You'd have to just lose the base of your pawn chain here with rook e8, bishop takes, or else sacrifice the exchange. In fact, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, like maybe this actually would be, I'd rather like sack the exchange than lose the base of my pawn chain in this position. I think I'd rather lose the exchange than lose this pawn on d6. But anyways, so Acerbate's plan really is kind of flawed. Oh, there's no intermezzos, right, with knight d3. So we have to do the ugly. And then positionally we're just smoked. There are chances, it's not game over. But we have to recapture with the pawn. So we shouldn't have played knight e5 anyway. But I'm going to give you guys some advice. Never play knight f8 in the Benoni. And never play knight b6 unless it's absolutely necessary. There are some cases where you do knight b6. It's very rare, but maybe like a knight on c4, we're challenging the knight on b6. I would say almost never play knight f8. Very rarely you have to do that. Okay, knight e5, and you got lucky. He played this brilliancy. I don't know which I like more, like bishop e2 or h4. Bam. And now, he misses the more obvious queen d2. He doesn't like control of d3 clearly. And so this gives Acerbate the opportunity to play knight d3, which probably wins material. Knight d3, bishop d3, bishop d3, rook takes e8. And now, if you play rook takes e8, he could try rook e1. But I was thinking, like, actually, in this particular instance, it might be better to take with the knight. That way, when he moves his rook, we can just snag this pawn on c4. I'm not 100% sure that white doesn't have some serious counterplay here, but it's something to think about. So Acerbate doesn't play knight d3, he plays this. This isn't as good, but it's not bad. So Acerbate trades pieces, the guy gives him, oof. You got to take this. I mean, it's a strong piece. This is pretty much a no-brainer. Knight takes e2. That's a strong bishop. That's his good bishop. You're insane not to take that. Okay, here, and now even more insane is like the guy not playing knight takes knight. So he goes here. Now Asterbate is just forced to make good moves. Knight takes f3 check. G takes f. Knight takes d2. Winning material. Yeah, I mean, white just didn't have a clue. There were many ways that black could play there. Now he's a clear piece up. Game over. Yeah, I mean, white was just totally outclassed in this game. But Asterbate could play... Nice mate, by the way. Asterbate could play a lot better. Okay, we got to move along. It's getting late. Knight takes d2 auto capture. I agree. I mean, that's his best piece. Best minor piece. Dark square bishop for white. All of his main central pawns, his central pawns on c4 and d5, the dark square bishop is the guardian of the dark squares. I'm going to show you guys this for amusement purposes only. This is a game I played against, this is Saji versus NN. This is an anonymous opponent played in a 5+3 casual game, but I just want to show you it's kind of fun. It wasn't perfect, but I was inspired. It was like, this game was played at 4 o'clock in the morning last night, and I just thought it was kind of fun. So we're playing white, and it's a Roy Lopez. My opponent plays a very unusual move here, the Boris Basinski variation with queen f6. It doesn't have a name, but Boris played it a few times. I think he borrowed it. Apparently, according to the database, it was played by Mariotti, but Mariotti, who's still alive, interestingly, it was probably older than Mariotti. I don't know. I'm sure this move must go back in chess history somewhere before Sergio Mariotti, but the opening Explorer in Lichess only goes back to 52. So we'll need, a pretty serious chess database to find the origins of this move. But this move clearly puts the queen in an exposed position where it interferes with black's natural development with knight f6. So it's not considered correct. I just castled. You can try to play more sharply, maybe. I think the d4 is worth, looking at. But probably not appropriate, excuse me, because of knight takes. We really don't want to trade pieces with white. So I castled, and then black played a6. And I guess we're out of opening Explorer, tournament games. I played bishop a4, and then black plays bishop c5. And we've transposed back into a couple of games here, some weird variation. I played c3. I want to go d4. Even though black is quadrupled down on d4. This is my idea. He plays knight on g to e7, and so I made two quote-unquote mistakes in this game. The computer doesn't like it. But I still think it was very inspired, and it wasn't totally incorrect. First I played d4, sacrificing a pawn. Again, this was 5-3 casual against NN. No name. Black takes the challenge, accepts the pawn. Now we're actually following a game here where somebody played bishop g5, but I had other ideas. So it wasn't enough. I wanted to play kind of Morphy style or whatever, so it wasn't enough that I sacrificed one pawn. I sacrificed another pawn with e5. Now black accepts the second pawn. Knight e5. Knight e5. Queen e5. His queen is drawn in the line. So I get more development. Rook e1. Now we have to watch this f2. Because black could potentially have pressure on f2. Black should play queen d6. This is a very difficult move for a human player to find. But I think primarily it's geared toward trying to engineer an exchange of queens. he plays the more natural knight, like queen back to f6 to look at f2, but now he walks into this like little trap. Notice black can't play d5 because he's pinned by the a4 bishop. So I have this knight d2. I'm threatening this knight e4. So when he takes another pawn, notice that's 3 pawns. Now black has 8 pawns and I have 5. I've sacrificed 3. I have this, and I'm defending f2. We're attacking f6, attacking the bishop on c5, right? And taking the queen with check. So now black goes here, which is a sensible looking move. Apparently queen f5 was better. That's always the computer's favorite square. The quads, I'll call them. These are the quads, the queen quads. Uber Driver, thank you for gifting a tier 1 sub. Bishop takes f2 check. Okay, Uber Driver, but I'm not obligated to like take that. You're always suggesting crazy things. I don't need to analyze that. Black has no development. Queen b6, and now bishop g5. And the basic idea is to prevent him from castling. This queen b6 is a problem because it blocks his b pawn from stifling my bishop. So he can't stop this diagonal. So now bishop g5. Obviously if castles, I can take and like take on e7, winning material. So he plays f6, and now I wasn't 100% sure this would work. The computer says I should just take on c5, but it was, not really an aesthetic move. I wanted to play aesthetically, so I played this, which is apparently sound, but not the best move. Another inaccuracy. Check. Now I'm expecting, I don't know what I was expecting actually. I was expecting him to play g6, but then I have knight takes f6 check. Although I'm not sure that's my best move. Probably not. I probably have better. If g6... Well, there's a lot of options. I expected that. He played king d8. And now the king is funny here. Now all of my pieces are in the game. Bishop, knight, centralized, bishop here, queen here. Rook is on the open file. So now we need to complete... Right. We need to complete the development. Everybody's in the game. And, I mean, black was like an amateur. I don't know how strong they were objectively. They weren't that bad, though. Who knows what his true strength was? 1600, 1700, I don't know. So he goes d5. And then, I knew this is over. This has to be over. You're like e8, d7, this guy's here, my rook's here, this rook's here. But what exactly is, where is the brilliancy for white now? So queen f6 was one of the suggestions, but this didn't occur to me. This didn't occur to me till a little later. So first I played knight takes f6. Now Uber Driver's gonna have a heart attack. I'm giving up my pawn on f2. Oh my god. This is apparently inaccurate. Knight takes f6, bishop takes f2 check, king h1, and now the opponent gets, materialistic. And obviously white's winning, but this is like the moment of truth, right? This is where it gets really cool. I played this move, check, and then black just doesn't have too many options here, He should probably play bishop d7, I guess. I was kind of bummed out that black can play bishop d7 and probably avoid getting mated by force or something. So apparently, yeah, that's his only move, bishop d7. He's still lost, but there's no elegant way to finish him off after bishop d7. Instead, he plays knight takes, and now white to move, and I messed up. I made 2 inaccuracies, and I missed this now. Don't look at the move list. White to move and mate, and I missed it. I'm so disappointed. I ruined my brilliancy. It's a really funny position. Yeah, knight g8. I just couldn't see it, It's so sick. Knight g8, interfering with a rook, protecting e8. It's really sweet. So, and then whatever he does, he can put any number of pieces in the way. Queen f6, knight f6, or knight e7. In all variations, it's queen e8 mate. I mean, actually, if knight e7, I can choose, bishop takes. So he should play, knight f6 or something. But this is really elegant, I just haven't really played a game like this in a long time. But sadly, I missed knight g8. So I just played the Arsenal suggestion from the other position. After knight takes d5 check, queen f6, now I played this. And that's actually the best move. But queen f7 is cute, too. Paul Morphy approved, right. We tried for Morphy style. Queen f7. He doesn't have a move. It's mate in two. Because this suddenly became a mate as well. And then here, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet mate with queen takes c7. So I thought that was fun. I rarely play games like that, but I felt like playing, really romantically. There were only a few flaws, though. It wasn't that bad for a... I think it would pass as a Morphy. You could pass it off as as a lost Morphy, I don't know, consultation game or something like that. I could be selling forgeries of create some fake Morphy games. Oh, I just discovered this in my grandma's basement. It's a Morphy game from 1857. All right. What do you got? We got Mr. Slow Arsenal. Let me have the game. I'm gonna pretend it's mine. Morphy versus NN. Morphy was sick at the time. He's still sick. Very sick. Alright. This is Mr. Slow playing the white side of the Sicilian. Mr. Slow versus Young CM. I noticed the CM title isn't very popular. You don't see a lot of people going for the CM title. It sort of doesn't have a point, there's only, because they degraded the FIDE Master title so much. It's Candidate Master almost doesn't have a sense. It's only 100 points lower than FIDE Master. Alright, so Mr. Slow, not in the house today. Maxwell, thanks for following. I hope you enjoyed our Morphy simulation. Anyway, not bad for a game played at 4 o'clock in the morning. Candidate Master, wait for parents to spend money. Alright, exactly. So d4. Mr. Slow is white. Knight f6, knight c3, and now a6. I've been getting into rook g1, the so-called freak attack. But when I lie to my friends, they're pretty impressed with my CM title. WJ Loof, welcome. They'll be impressed by my Morphy, the Morphy score sheet I found in my grandma's, attic. Along with those Babe Ruth baseball cards. Nepo played this versus Magnus a couple of times. Oh, right. No, I like Richie one, but Mr. Slow is going a little more principled with h3. Obviously, h3 is not as controversial as Rook g1. I just had a really wild idea. It's really obviously not sound. But just for curiosity's sake, I mean, let's say Emery Tate, was still alive and he was smoking a bong, in a cloud of weed, is just like, floating around the room while we're playing Blitz, and like, this, I could see like someone playing this. I just wanted to say, I'm kind of like, it's the kind of move you would make if you were like, baked or something. I'm not surprised to see like someone actually played this. G4, it's not a blunder. It's not a bug. It's a feature. This is totally like, it's an open file. I mean, Shirov plays G4 against a Philidor. It's just taking things to another level. It's deep. It's like mega deep. You just hung a pawn. No, I didn't. I just sacrificed it. This is the baked variation. Oh, it's called something. It's called the Decker Gambit. Alright, anyways. It just occurred to me. I have these weird ideas just... The mega deep baked. Alright. H3, E5. The most principled response. I mean, basically in the Najdorf, like, anytime you play E5, you're getting a more sort of solidified control of the center. When you play, and more space, importantly. When you play E6, it's a little more, let's say, hyper-modern, essentially. E5 almost has the effect of playing like an E4, E5. A weird kind of E4, E5 game. Let's just say like E5 is a more classical response. Lombardi invented this. Lombardi invented H3? Actually, he didn't. Uber driver. Weaver Adams did. As you can see, you should know this as a former member of the Boylston Chess Club. But, and a New Englander. It's actually called the Adams attack, and that's not... It's not named after Michael Adams. This actually goes back to Weaver Adams, I believe, and a New England player who probably played with Harry Lyman. I'm pretty sure. So it's older than Bill Lombardi for sure. I've got to prove Uber driver wrong. It's like principle. Knight b3. Now, I guess it's possible to play other moves here. So, Knight f3 kind of transposes to... What would it transpose to? Well, other lines that are similar. Depending on what white does next, it could transpose to bishop e3. Knight e2 is the idea where you're playing either g4, knight g3, or possibly you can play g3, bishop g2 still. So it's kind of these two usually. Knight f5 is a problem because there's no check on b5. There's none of that, and so you could just, hammer me with like d5. I have no idea like what's up with this either. Somewhere I saw a weird game recently where there was a knight on h6 really early in another line. But I mean, I guess this also must be considered. But after bishop takes f5, black loses the white squared bishop. I would think that's a pretty serious concession. Take d5. I'm not sure if I like the look of that for black. I don't think I want to give that bishop up necessarily. d5 is way more dynamic. But anyway, knight f5 is bad. Okay, knight b3 for Mr. Slow. Black played b5. So this seems to be one of Black's best lines. There's also h5, which is basically being played in like every line of the Najdorf now. I had a game with Zen Chess where I did rook g1 and he did h5 the other day. And I played like a novelty here, queen e2, which is interesting actually. Alright, h3 here, here, here. Yeah, Arsenal, it looks like bishop e6 is like the standard way to play. I'll be honest with you, I think I like knight e2 better. One of the reasons why I like this better is because it feels like white has more plans. You know, you've got both the fianchetto and the g4, knight g3 type of setup available. I feel like, you know, knight b3 you're just kind of transposing to some kind of other variation where you just happen to have played h3. I'm not sure it fits in as well with h3. Knight e2 makes more sense with h3, I think. The statistics don't bear it out. It looks like they're equally good. But I still think this kind of makes more sense. I mean, like, if you play knight e2 and black plays h5, now you can revert back to a fianchetto type of setup. Alright, here, b5. That gives white the possibility of playing a4. So that's a major idea. And it looks like Mr. Slow did it right away. But there's no rush. It looks like statistics favor the obvious, like g4. But if you play g4, black has time to play bishop b7. Maybe there's some technical problem here. What's the question? If g4, b4, knight d5, and now this is dangerous, clearly. Asterbate, don't take that pawn on e4. It's not the Benoni. There's issues. Yeah, this is like typical. Or bishop g2 even. Alright, but sorry. I love that button. It's my favorite button on Lichess, the fast forward button. So g4, bishop b7, and now it's like this is an actual like legit threat. So you have to play bishop g2. I don't know. The most common move seems to be b4, knight d5. We get a position that's kind of similar, but has black really benefited from this? Putting his bishop on, he's put his bishop on b7, but it's like shut down by the pawn on d5. You could say the same thing, but we've, you know, Yefim Geller. I just went over a Geller game the other day where he like did this in the Spanish. Like this bishop on e4 is going to be actually better than that bishop on b7 at some point. So Mr. Slow introduces like a relatively uncommon idea here, a4, immediately. What could possibly be wrong with a4? a4, b4, knight d5? I mean, black can't dare to take the pawn, right? Knight takes e4. Are we looking at materialistic pawn grab? b4? Yeah. Knight d5, so this. I need to see your license. Sacrifice that pawn, Asterbate. Bishop on e4, that pawn on d5 with this bad bishop. It's controlling this diagonal. Ooh. I just started looking at some Geller games. Knight takes e4. Well, I mean, yeah, you could play like just a developing move, but I feel like Black's... he's still like, you know, on the respirator here. Things could go south. Do we have better? You know, I mean, that's the real question. Does this work? You know, I mean, I think we're all wondering about Arsenal Sveshnikov. How's Arsenal Sveshnikov these days? Is f5 a good thing or a bad thing for Black? That's what I'm wondering. And White has g4 potentially. Bishop c4. So my question is, like, can Black really get away with playing like this? Is there another option? I mean, could Black potentially defend in some other way? Yeah, it's really bad. Wow. f5 is the only move, and it's plus 2 point something for White. So it's out of the question. So, oh, there's Shugarov versus Nodirbek. There's too many Nodirbeks now. There's 3 recent games. So Mr. Slow is like experimenting with something pretty new. The White's had bad results. It may just be like statistically bad luck. Bishop e6. I'm having a hard time understanding what Bishop e6 does. I guess it threatens to play knight takes e4. But for example, Bishop e3 there, then knight d7. That's interesting. So Nodirbek played Bishop e6. And like this is probably ineffective because of this. So White had to play Bishop g5. Black does this anyway. And then White just took the pawn on b4, but it doesn't look really threatening for Black, you know, to Black's health. So it looks like Bishop e6 is a reasonable move. There's another game with Bishop b7. I always love this. This chick's name is Kilbasa. Olivia Kolbas. Liv Kolbas. Yeah, I keep confusing you guys. Arsenal fan. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're one who should gravitate toward theoretical memorization of very topical lines. The Sveshnikov is pretty nasty. There was a game last year where Banus, like, unbelievably faced some Indian grandmaster in Reykjavik or this spring. The Indian guy, like, played one of those, like, refuted peace sacrifices on b5 or whatever, and although Banus' position was okay, you know, he got confused and lost. You have to remember all of this crap. You know, just even variations that no one plays. It requires really a lot of memorization, the Sveshnikov. So what happened here? Knight d5, Bishop b7. Does that make sense? Versus Bishop e6. Black's threatening to play what? Knight takes e4. White played Bishop c4 here. Mr. Slow's opponent just took on d5. And now there's a game here where the Spanish master, I don't know him, Vehi Bach, played queen takes d5. This is obviously like kind of technical style. I always hate like when this happens in the Sveshnikov. I mean, like, pawn takes is a more like rich, I think, like rich strategic type of position where you have further imbalancing in the pawn structure. This is kind of technical. And now black has to play rook a7. Again, this is Mr. Slow against young candidate master. Now bishop e3. But, I mean, okay. What exactly are we doing here with white? I mean, what's the point? Like, let's say in pawn takes, we just don't have a great position. H3 doesn't really seem relevant at all. Okay, queen takes d5, rook a7, but what are we doing now is my question. What if we played like bishop c4 or something? Obviously threatening mate. I'm just saying, like bishop c4, queen d3. It looks pretty lame. I'm just not sure what we should do, though. Like, is this just attacking the rook for the sake of attacking the rook? Or is there a deeper plan behind this? Is my question. Rook c7 is bad because of bishop b6. Black can play bishop b7. That's also bad, presumably. And then obviously rook d7, rook e7 are kind of awkward. I mean, is this crazy? Play like rook d7. That's like, talk about coordination, right? This is kind of like, how many pieces can you get in the way at the same time? Get in the way of? That's maybe max interference, right? I mean, a rook in the way of 4 different pieces, that's pretty cool. Whereas like on e7 it only gets in the way of 3. It doesn't have a great square. This probably, you know, one of the lesser evils. Honestly, it would protect the b pawn. So black plays bishop e6 following this game. And then white played queen a5. White played queen a5 and like went on to lose the game. Mr. Slow plays exactly the same game as the Spanish guy. What is the chances of that? Well, I hate trading queens, but I guess we're not necessarily playing this position for an attack, you know? We're threatening to win a pawn at b4. Just because black lost this game white lost this game doesn't mean he had a bad position. So we can't draw any conclusions from the result of that game. I mean, it does look like black's pawns, I think at the end of the day, maybe black's pawns are actually weaker than white's pawns. This is really unpleasant. I mean, that bishop attacking a7, a6. All black can do is like rook c7 attacking c2. But that's easy to defend against. So I would wager that white is better here, and black like went on to win, but it didn't necessarily have anything to do with the opening. So let's see the evaluation. Yeah. Vehi Bach was better by 0.9. So he's significantly better here. His opponent played rook c7, obviously attacking c2. which is what most people would play. And I think the question is, like, how does white, how and if white protects that pawn on c2, you have to even conceive, and I hate to go this far, but you'd have to even conceive of possibly, like, thinking about, could I trap the rook, you know? I mean, it's probably not possible, but it's definitely worth, you know, at least considering. What's this? This is actually playable. We can't trap the rook, it looks like. Compensation for pawn, but that's it, according to the engine. But that's why I'm just saying you have to keep an open mind when analyzing. Yeah, I mean, king d2 is committal. So after rook c7, I like the idea that we can leave our king in the center of castle either way. The maximum flexibility, the better. So bishop d3 is not a great square for this bishop, but it does give us, you know, maximum king flexibility going forward. White is slightly better, and he went on to lose this game. But black, in Mr. Slow's game, played rook d7, which is a new move, clearly in line with, you know, the idea of d5, as you were talking. So, totally fresh position. Do you guys want to bet? Do you think this has been played on Lichess? Probably. I doubt it's too many games. Wow, no games. Wow. No games. There's a 27.99 versus 26.82 draw. Rook c7. And white won with bishop d3. Someone actually, the stronger player actually, this 27.99 guy, Mike G Scam, that account's probably like banned or something. No, he's a GM. Oh, Mike G Scarn. Mike G Scarn. Mike G Scarn? Michael Scarney? Who was the poker author called Scarney? Remember that? There was this old school poker author who wrote a lot of kind of simple, cheesy books on poker. Was it Michael Scarney? I don't remember. It was Scarney. I just lost my place. Where am I? So GM castled queenside, probably a bullet game. But I also think, like, it's not clear. There's another fanatist who played this and beat a 2100. Okay, anyway, this is a weird move. Rook d7. Okay, what's the problem? Well, first of all, white has bishop c4. On paper, it looks like an issue. A big one. That's why everybody played rook c7, to prevent this move. This prevents f5. I don't think you want to have this position against Zoli Varga, or even any like 2400 rated grandmaster at this point. It's a nice solid tactical edge for white. Bishop takes c4 is definitely bad. But ultimately it seems like white can just improve here, slowly. That knight is paralyzed on b8. Rook d7 is a serious mistake. Although, again, I am not necessarily on board with castle's queenside. I would think like there are some cases where this rook might actually like be useful on its original square. What about like king e2 or something like that, and just connect the rooks and leave the king in the center? We can also play g4 at some point. I would think king e2. I guess we're running into this, though. This is going to be a problem. Bishop d8 is going to be a problem. He's going to unplug our knight on a5. So I think you have to keep an open mind. Bishop d2. Now we're entering the arsenal zone with like d5. Bishop d2 is probably too slow. Okay, the nice thing about this move is like it grips d5, but what are we going to do about bishop d8? So we're just going to have to cave and trade. We're going to have to cave and trade here, take, and then move the knight again. And then black will probably play this. And I admit, like, black is worse. It's a question of how much worse. Okay, interesting game. Castles may be a mistake. It looks like a mistake. It looks like a serious mistake. So I need to look at bishop d8. He had to play it. Damn. I don't know, man. This was Bach's move. He has to play bishop d8. Because after the game move, Mr. Slow sits on him. This is Big Mama. Now Big Mama, Uber driver, is in command. Big Mama is sitting on you with bishop d5. And now we pull this knight out. I suppose that black was hoping for like black was hoping this rook could get here. Maybe. Do we have enough time? Yeah, that's what happened. Rook c8 and then b3 exactly. And now it's knight c4ville. Oh man. Dude, this is like some serious preparation by Mr. Slow. And good play. Black is just getting like brutalized. Now you have knight c4. And it's time to panic. Man, I mean, black seriously has to start considering the desperate like exchange sacrifice. But we could just take with the rook. I mean, I'm at the point where I'm seriously starting to think about this type of stuff. It's probably not enough though. The other pieces are too bad. You can't sack the exchange when your other two pieces are like bad, you know. You could sack the exchange with your like bad pieces. Knight d7, and now bishop takes e6, winning a pawn? What is this? Okay, he plays knight d7. Mr. Slow doesn't really want to do this. You don't really want to do bishop takes e6 unless you have to. So it looks like he's going to sacrifice the c2 pawn and say, okay, well, guess what? Like, it doesn't really matter that much. You've got no... He says, I don't care. You've got nothing. Bobby Fischer and Big Mama. Okay, one question. The take variation. This is the game. I was thinking here. Uber Driver must have left, dude. He's not commenting on Big Mama and my references to Big Bobby and Big Mama. I can't believe we only have 12 viewers for subscriber streams. I mean, for the analysis streams. It's so sad. Nobody cares about real chess anymore. Thoughtful analysis is a thing of the past. It's more important to just play trashy bullet chess and watch grandmasters hang pieces. It's so sad. But seriously, why knight c5? Why so fancy? Why not knight f6? Because it protects the pawns. Okay, stupid question. You ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer. This protects the pawns. I mean, is it even necessary, though? Let's say knight f6. This really loosens white's position. I mean, this is a really fancy move, and it's cute and all. It also attacks b3. But I'm just saying, this is an option as well. So he plays knight c5, and Mr. Slow, well, speaking of options now, I think Mr. Slow, like, up the screwed. Alright, I need to see some evidence here. What's happening? Maybe he didn't up the screw. Let's see. King takes knight e4 check. Man, I want to see some... I say we're not really a pawn down here. You have to take... And I say, screw you, rook c1. Big Bobby would probably prefer white. Like, does it really matter we're down a doubled pawn? With black's pawns, like these pawns, looking really, really sketchy. Say rook takes, king takes, or bishop takes. Let's say king takes. I'm threatening stuff here. So white is slightly better. But the computer says it's just very slightly. Just very slightly better. It's something to think about, though. You're saying, what, knight c5, rook d8? Ah. Knight c5, rook d8. Oh my god. So knight c5, rook d8, king c2, knight takes c4. Okay, another kind of version. But frankly, I think white is okay, but it's probably a slightly inferior version of what we just looked at. I think the other one is probably a little better. This is probably like black's got enough to hold on. Well, anyway, he would hold on. Mr. Slow took, but I'm concerned. I don't really like this rook on the 7th. I'm afraid that Mr. Slow has only a draw now. So I feel like this was his last chance here. Like, he was better, then suddenly it's like black's holding on. After this, like, freaking miracle. There's another option, maybe f3, no. f3? No, but seriously, f3, knight takes b3. I don't like the look of that, that's not an option. Well, I mean, I guess there's one option. f3, knight takes b3, rook check, it doesn't do anything. So, alright. Now, I mean, it's getting nasty down here. This is a draw. So, Arsenal, do you have a suggestion? Rook d1? Yeah, that's what I was looking at. No? Nothing works. I think it's just a draw, sadly. We've even got to be careful we don't lose. I thought black was going to play this for sure. Maybe he was afraid of something. I wonder if black was like afraid of something here. Like rook c1. That must have been what it was. So he's actually taking care to guarantee like white doesn't have this. Now rook b6. Rook takes. Now rook c1 doesn't work. Then black takes and then down. Now we're threatening perpetual check. So, yeah, interesting game by Mr. Slow. I thought it was pretty cool. Let's see what's happening here. So I guess the critical moment now, he took on e6. Yeah, he caved. He's a caveman. Mr. Slow. Mr. Slow's a caveman. He caved and it was a draw against the young CM. He could have found this hyper subtle rook e1 move or f3. Alright, good job in the opening though. Okay, Mr. Arsenal fan. A long wait. We gotta do something to keep people interested. They leave as soon as their game is analyzed. We gotta keep them interested. What I like about you, Arsenal fan, there aren't many things, but you're devoted to taking chess, seriously. I appreciate it. Wow, we're up to like a record 15 viewers. Pretty women out walking with gorillas down the street from my window. I'm staring while my coffee goes cold. Look over where? There's a lady that I used to know. She's married now or engaged or something. So what are you talking about? Damn. Asterbate is like ranting about crazy shit. The gorilla. Okay, this is Arsenal playing white. Wait, you said you were white or black? White. You're not playing the Caro-Kann, I hope. Oh no. It's lyrics. Arsenal, advanced Caro-Kann. Advanced Arsenal. Alright, how's your Arsenal? Speaking of Liverpool, I just want to say that John Henry sucks as an owner. Personally, as a former Red Sox fan, there was an article about Liverpool and the Red Sox and John Henry being the owner, and how he led them to titles, but now all their fans are like discontented on both sides of the Atlantic about the direction that the guy has been going. I don't know what your take is on that, Arsenal. E6. I know you're not a Liverpool fan, but just, you follow the Premier League, so. Bishop e2 and out of book. Yeah, well, the idea, the Red Sox were rejuvenated too, but then it's sort of like turned, and it's been stagnant for a while now. Maybe things are worse with the Red Sox than Liverpool, I don't know. You said bishop e2 and out of book. Well, bishop e2 is like the main line. Black plays c5, which is old school, right? c5 is old school. Speaking of big oil money, did you hear that like some investor from the UAE is going to buy 10% of Heathrow Airport? It's just like, okay, it's happening in everything, but pretty soon, like the whole UK will be owned by like Arab Emirates or something. It's just a matter of time. Alright, bishop e2. Gotta be careful. I think the Budapest airport is they're trying to actually the Hungarian government, which is very obviously shady, is trying to rebuy their own airport, put it under like nationalized control again. It was currently owned by foreign investors. Okay, bishop e2, c5, old school. Now you have some interesting possibilities here. Now, as I always like to point out, I think the surprising thing about these type of advanced variations, you see a lot of people who are like noobs who always play like c3 all the time and shit. No insult intended. Karyakin, Fallujah. This is a really safe way of playing. Oh, by the way, Arsenal fan, I just played at the World Senior, and your mate, Mickey Adams, he ended up like winning on tiebreak my section, but he wasn't flawless, but he did play a couple of nice games in this. He had one game that was really like drawn, but he managed to out technique the guy. But if you want to look at how to play the white side of this line, like you probably could couldn't do much better than looking at Adams's games. He's really, got a very good grasp. Adams is very deep strategically. He's not a typical chess player. I think he's kind of special in a sense. He has a very, very deep strategic understanding of the game. I think he goes a lot like more holistic than most people who are just calculating moves, So, right. So black plays knight c6 now. But I think, like, okay, you castled. He plays knight c6. I guess you don't have to castle. You can play bishop e3. This is like the main line. What I wanted to say was, though, the surprising thing about this variation is that oftentimes it hinges on white playing for c4, which is counterintuitive. From an e4 opening, and you'd think, like, you're trying to reinforce your center, but it's more important to blow up his center. And oftentimes the black king is open, right? Is staying in the center for a long time. It's actually, this is a very sharp idea, but it's a question like when to play it. Like it's too early here. Let's see, castles, knight c6. Yeah, so now, rather than c3, and apparently like c4 is bad. It's still too early to play this. We can go bishop e3. It turns out your move is actually the most common. I'm a little surprised. I thought like this would be kind of the main line. Maybe this variation is sort of played out. C takes d4, knight takes d4, knight on g to e7, c4 now. Something like this. Knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, knight c6, c takes d5, queen takes d5, bishop f3. There's some crazy stuff, but black equalizes, it looks like. Okay, so cheers. Maybe we try bishop e3. Instead of castles. And if black tries to play like knight c6 now, you can take on c5. This might be a little bit sharper. I know that this exists, but now this is sort of poisonous here. Now you got really crazy stuff. So after bishop e3, you don't castle, you play bishop e3. Yeah. You're taking with the knight, of course, and you're threatening knight f5, so black has to play knight e7. And then c4 is a thing. These are old games, though. Leiko 2009. Nothing new here, really. This looks like maybe modern, more modern. Anyway, alright, let's see what you did, though. What you did is just, like, kind of solid, the c3. Just Morales plays like this as well. So black exchanges on d4. Wow, knight takes d4 has a bunch of games. That's what you did. Okay, wow. I thought you were going to take back with the pawn. I have to say though, like, you have to admit, like, it's kind of weird to play c3 and then take back with the knight on d4. It's sort of counterintuitive. You'd think, like, if you're going to bother to play c3, then If you're going to take back with the knight, why bother to play c3? You know what I mean? I mean, c2 pawn is hanging. That really doesn't matter. So this is surprising for me. Wow. This move has a very, very good score. Black's almost never won a single game. And Magnus actually played it a couple of times. Adams is there from 2012. But, well, I would expect 97 now. They wanna take back with the knight. Magnus is big on like 2 bishops long term. You know, so this isn't surprising to see. Magnus Harikrishna. What about the e5 pawn? You can't get stuck like defending that passively, I guess. And f4 is horrible. So bishop d3. A lot of games here. g6. Wow. This is very technical. White is slightly better. Magnus style. I mean, I was expecting you to play pawn takes. Play it like an advanced French. I think that's what I would see more often if I tried to play with black. I mean, you do have this. You're getting your knight on c3. It's basically an advanced French, but the bishop's on f5. It's another way to play. But I think, you know, instead of c3 here, after pawn takes pawn, you take with a knight. If they trade, you know, this c pawn is not a problem. Not yet, anyway. Can you play c4 is the question. Okay, let's see the game. So c3, cd4, knight d4, knight d4. We're following Carlsen Anand, 2009. And now you took with the c pawn, but this is plausible to play queen takes d4, I guess. cd4. And you're threatening bishop e5 check, game over. So a6 is slow. A6 loses, or no? A6. Well, A6 is just a bad move. He's got to play knight e7. And now you played bishop g5. Wow. Wow. Bishop g5 is bad because, you know, it's funny. You know what's funny? I had another game where Nils submitted a game for our lesson, or showed me a game from our lesson, where he played bishop g5 in a Slav, in a very similar type of position. That was different, though. He had faced like queen b6, and then black had pressure on b2 and d4. I mean, it basically is a Slav. I mean, they're parallel type of structures. You transferred to a Slav type position. This was played by Baklan in 2011. I mean, bishop g5 is a strong move in the tactical sense. You're threatening to win immediately with bishop b5 check. But my question would be, like, what about queen b6? Why did black play queen d7 in all games, in both games here? Queen d7 is okay. But my bigger question would be, like, well, queen d7 is great and fine and everything, but what about queen b6? Not that I'm necessarily threatening to take this. Are we afraid of knight a4? Maybe that's the problem. I think the queen itself is exposed, right? But now here, and our d4 pawn is coming under attack, and that was the problem that Nils had in the Slav position. He had problems defending these two pawns. I mean, you can solve the problem, you know, somehow, but at the end of the day, why does no one play bishop g5? Are they just ignorant, or is it just a bad move? Take on e7. Well, I mean, this is a major concession. after bishop takes c7, queen a4 check. I mean, I'm not going to venture like king d8 necessarily, but I have to say, like, I'm skeptical as to, how really problematic black's situation is. I'm not sure this would be justifiable, Oh, Uber driver, you're back. Thanks for coming back. Salty tablet. Has to be your computer is salty, not your tablet, right? Salt tablets. So queen d7, that's the move. And that's what your opponent played. Wow. Oh, Darko Doric. Okay, wow. This is a GM, I guess. 2500. Play queen d7. All right. Yeah, so I guess at the end of the day, bishop g5 is interesting, but it may have some flaws. Let's see. Queen d7, not a threat here. And so now you played a new move. Baklan played rook c1, just straightforward development. I mean, there's no way that white isn't better here. You have a space advantage. Period. End of story. The only problem is it's a symmetrical structure, and your advantage is somewhat limited. I love white's game. I don't think you're really worse in any situations. You're not going to really be overextended. He can't put any pressure on his pawn. With the queen on d7, that queen on d7 is not great. So you played this, though. That's a totally new idea. Interesting. I like it. We're maybe willing to play giving up that bishop, but I have a question for you. What if black plays bishop b4? Oh, we have a nice space edge here. I mean, this does look pretty good. Rook c1. Yeah, I mean, you have a really pleasant position, man. Makes you wonder if black didn't do something wrong. I think we're learning something here. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess we've got to ask ourselves, like, why does most people play knight on g to e7? And now is this still a thing? That's actually how the Baklan game went. So that's interesting. That game was reached by this move order, not your move order. So knight on g d7, bishop g5 is a little different. Now black only played knight takes d4. He could play queen d7 unprovoked. Black isn't obligated to take on d4. That's interesting. This may be a minor improvement for black with queen d7. So he voluntarily takes here. Sorry. Here, 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 here. Knight c3, knight c6, rook c1, novelty, bishop e7, and now you just take. But I mean, here you have options. You're not, I like saying obligated. You're not obligated to play bishop takes e7. You also have queen d2. But frankly, this looks very good for you. So I think that, first of all, I have a question. I want a question. Can I please ask a question? Why doesn't black maybe think about throwing in h6? You can throw in h6. If you're not going to challenge my bishop on f5, this is going to stay on the board. It'll be okay. And I need to know like where you're going. I wanna make you like I want to make you commit. You know, either you're going to stick with this program or you're going to switch programs, and then I can like safely play like bishop e7 or something, or more safely play it. h6 looks sensible, yeah. There's some weakness involved, but I think this is obviously a good exchange for you, and now you have a really solid advantage. But what the guy did now is like unthinkable. You know, I am not, as much as I love to imitate, you know, the best of Anatoly Karpov, there's no way I'm Anatoly Karparking my king in the center here, in this particular position. I have two options. Option A is to like park your king in the center, and option B is to like maybe lose a pawn in the long run or something. And I'll take option B. You know, I'll take my chances with like maybe losing a pawn later. It's okay. You know, I'm out of here, and I'll see you later. And I'll take my chances with that. Like, this is like, you can lose a pawn or get checkmated. These are your two options. Which do you prefer? Oh, checkmated. I do checkmate. Okay. King takes e7. You know, okay, you want the checkmated. Okay, here, queen b3. There's no way that black will be able to solve the problems here. Like, if you wasted 3 tempi, and it's only Park. Mr. Coffee likes parking his king. He likes to park in the suburbs, like a long way from the city center. King e7, queen b3, very logical. You know, if you hadn't taken with the king, you'd have probably been like playing queen a4 or something, but you've got this. You have queen a3 check. You got this. Arsenal also has this. Yeah, it's like, do I want to torture this guy strategically or try to checkmate him? Uh-oh. There's a hint of counterplay here now. Nice. Well, I was wondering how we're going to get the rook in the game, and this has some defensive value. Now you removed your knight on c5. Can we make progress in a more straightforward manner now? And that rook is very concerning for black, dude. Like, I've got to ask you a question. Like, how does his rook even like be? I think you got this, but maybe you can win in a very like gradual, sensible fashion. Like here, for example, this looks very unpleasant for black. He has like literally nothing to do. You know, after queen a5. See, this is like a Michael Adams position, dude. For sure. You probably did something similar. I wouldn't want to take my knight off of c5 unless I have to, though. This looks really strong, actually. If he plays like rook c8, you're coming here. The only thing that bothers me, I guess, is this. There is some scenario where that d4 pawn comes are attacked by his queen. You got the rook here, but the d4 pawn... So maybe that's part of your thinking with knight b3. The nice thing is that this stays protected. So queen h4 is not a problem. I do hate b3 for knights in general. We can't all be like Uber driver. So, okay, no, we're not trading queens like that. You think a3 is atrocious? I didn't think it was so bad. It may be unnecessary. I guess it's unnecessary, you know. He's not threatening anything. Right. Well, you could just just simply play like queen a5. He'll probably have to go here anyway. He may be dropping in and attacking your pawn later at some point. You know, maybe forcing a3 at a later date. I think you're being a little bit too harsh. In general, we have a really good bind. A3 or no a3. This is a weird move. Bishop b1. He's coming here. And then bishop a2. Okay, that's atrocious. For him. Is his bishop seriously, like, trapped? Wait. We don't have knight here? Wait for it? Does he seriously have an answer for this? Yeah, c5. Yeah. So he has to play c5. Oh, man. But it looks bad, dude. You have b4. He has some weird-ass defense like this. Oh, my God. He's hanging on. And if you play b3, he plays c4. I don't know, though. I mean, can you win here? It's a draw, according to the computer. So here, knight d2 is the best move. c5 is the best move. I'm cheating with the engine now. I'm getting tired. You have to find a really subtle move now. Wow. a4. Circumventing b5. This would be tough to find if you're in any kind of time pressure. That's not easy. You suddenly have another idea of rook a3. I mean, this is a disaster, though, dude. You didn't want to trade queens. You know, I understand. Like, a3 is a mistake. But maybe knight b3 is a mistake. You know, you should go back to this point. You pulled your knight out, allowing queen b4, but maybe here you have a tighter way to, like, keep the lid on the position. I mean, letting him play his queen to b4 feels very counterintuitive to me. I think you should manage this without allowing, you know, him to do that. If you do trade queens here, you need to trade on your terms. This taking on b6 is a disaster. I was even thinking about weird ideas like queen b4. Well, you have queen a5. That's what happened here. And now you're forced to trade queens? Jesus. Dude, I mean, you actually have queen a4 here. Maybe you could, like, reset. You could get a reset. What's happening, man? He has this. What a bizarre situation. That knight b3 was a real stinker. I think that's worse than the a3. So you got like down to equality, essentially. Maybe you still have a tiny push, plus push. I mean, the obvious move is b4, but then he just settles into c4. Here, what about Mr. Coffee? Arsenal. Mr. Coffee said that you shouldn't park in the suburbs because there's been an increase of king thefts in suburban areas. Downtown might be better. See, he understands. And it's like car park. He likes putting his king in the center. Now you you resumed. And then b4. Your friend is back. After b4. Your friend is back, dude. You gotta get your king in the game. What are you doing with your king? King was stalled. Finally. Okay. You got him under control. He's gonna find a way to lose this, man. Raging. It's the raging king now. He's stealing other people's cars at this point. Man, f5 is like begging to be played. Holy shit. h4 ain't bad either. Wow, now the guy's really desperate. Do you need to play a4? I mean, should you play a4? I guess it's an interesting question. I guess it's going to be hard to make progress without it. Now he found another angle. See, I don't know if he's after f5 idea. This is hard to... You got to calculate, man. Endgames are all about calculation. What about f5? There could be very sharp play here. You're threatening like g5 f6 type of stuff. First of all, his rook needs to go back to a8 where it can, you know, reappear on the other side. But I mean, you're close to something now. But I feel like king e3 is badly timed. You're getting in the way of your rook at this point. This clearance is important. I mean, you need to break now, probably, like f5. It looks like you're seriously pushing for a win here. Well, I mean, it's not clear to see how he's going to get in. I mean, unless you, like, voluntarily open the lines. You're still in control here. Well, I think you want to get your rook across and then, you know, and then centralize your king. So ideally, you play f5, you play, like, rook g3, and then maybe get your king to d2 or something like that. I'm not saying it's a winning position, but it looks like you're better. I guess you could do the same thing. You know, maybe the order of moves is fine. He managed to prevent you from playing f5, though. I would just say king d2 now. And again, you know, we want to use like rook, you know, rook mobility. You did the same thing. You could swing over, but now he's got stupid bishop c2. So what's this? Draw. It's a little late, Sung Prism. Sorry. We gotta go. I gotta go. Probably me misevaluating the position. Well, I think time plays a role here. This is not like easy to say white's definitely better, but I'm pretty sure. I think you have to kind of like, you know, logically say like, black really can't push and white can. Therefore, you must be better. The question is how much, you know, and you do have to be careful about overpressing. As I said on recent streams, like the biggest danger I think for most players is being overconfident. A lot of players like approach the game from the first move overconfident. I don't do that. I think you do sometimes, but not in general. I tend to like be overconfident in situations. I will suddenly become overconfident. You know, here you have to be cautious. I mean, you know, be aware that you could lose ascending if you push too hard. Yeah, the computer's evaluation is pretty much in line with what I would say. You know, a slight edge, like enough to justify not taking a draw and playing for a win. But at the same time, if this is against like a title player or something, it's still a solid result. But I wonder if we go back to that position where I was recommending like f5, what the engine says here. The computer's looking at h5, which is risky because, you know, you may regret fixing like that pawn on h5, forbid like that bishop somehow gets down on d1 and picks it off later or something. So I would think like this would be good. There's a problem. I don't know. Let's see. Takes, bishop e1. I thought this was good for us. Wow. Okay, so my line is like rook g3, bishop takes, rook takes g7. I thought you were better here. You're not worse, but according to the engine, black is holding on. Like you basically have no losing chances. But I guess you can play the position in a more patient way. G takes f5. Instead of f5 immediately, well, you can also play takes, bishop e1, rook f3, and just chill. And the best square for our king is like f4 now, probably. If our king's on f4, we play rook g1, and we're better, or h5, rook g1, and we're winning. But, you know, he has these kind of like sacrifice type of moves the computer's suggesting here. Jesus. That would be crazy. Imagine this. Then it's like all bets are off. What a game. That would be insane if this happens. No, I don't think you're like a coward for agreeing to a draw here or anything. It's not an easy ending. Yeah. It's not an easy ending to evaluate. And you're like, oh, the bishop might be better than the knight. Like in a vacuum it is, but you don't have too many pawns on white squares, and most of his central pawns are fixed on white squares, so his bishop's kind of a bad bishop, and your knight is pretty solid, so it turns out the knight is actually a tiny bit better than the bishop here. Maybe it's equal, but you know, you've got more space anyway. So, all right, guys, good analysis stream. I'll be back tomorrow with some blitz rapid style games. Saturday we have a team battle, crack intra-team battle. I have got to create the battle. I'll do that tomorrow. Intra-team battle, Krakens versus Pandas. Panda's going to try to make a comeback to get respawned. And Sunday Simul as always. Thanks, guys, for sending in interesting games. Sun Prism, next time send in the game a little earlier. I got to get my beauty sleep. All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Coffee. Thank you for all the donations. We appreciate it. Astrobate, thumbs up. Thank you, guys, for submitting games. And I hope we all learned something, including me. It's been fun. It's been real. Mr. Coffee, I expect some good chess from you. Get back into tournament form. Everyone who is good, please be for Kraken. Everyone who's good, please be for the Ponda team. Ponda team. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.